Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to what is going to be a ridiculous grand final and final day here at EPIC36. We had 16 teams from far and wide travel here all the way to Kettering to compete and battle it out for those all-important beacon points. Since then, 14 of those teams have been removed from competition, and we are left with two absolutely ridiculous squads here in our grand final. We're going to be seeing Rich GG Static taking on the side of Gladius, a rematch of the upper final yesterday. My name John P, joined, of course, once again by the one and only Rook. Rook, I am excited for today's final, man.
And why wouldn't you be, man? We talked about that upper bracket final we had yesterday. We got to cast it, and oh lord, was it good. You literally said at the end of the cast, and said, every other team, can you back off a little bit so we can get a rematch of this one? It was absolutely fantastic, and I have no doubt we're going to see another barn burner.
Yeah, I am hoping we get more of the same, more of the same, to be totally honest with you, due to the fact that it was a very, very close, tight affair on the Ascent yesterday. It was, what, 18-16, I think, or 16-14, something like that, on map number 1, and honestly, between us two and you guys at home, if you didn't watch it, Gladius kind of threw the game a little bit. I mean, they had, what, like a 9-round lead at one point, and Ricks, though, they're a side that just don't go away, man. They keep pecking away at you, they keep chunking away at the rounds, and all of a sudden, you saw them claw themselves back into overtime, and then from there and then on, it was only going to end in one result, and that was a Ricks GG 2-0 after a very convincing 39 on the Haven.
Yeah, I was really impressed, honestly, by their tenacity, and we kind of see that throughout the entire tournament. In their matchup versus Temperate as well, they were so sorry, and other squads as well. They were so far down in that matchup versus Temperate, and they still clutched it back. And I mean, you kind of saw that in the fact that even though they got taken to overtime, even though it looked like their mentals might have been broken, they still managed to deliver and still managed to show up. Now, Gladius, they got knocked down into that lower bracket. They had to take down Temperate in that lower bracket as well, and really showed us just what they were able to deliver. I'm really looking forward to seeing this team full guns are blazing, because when they are on the right track, they are kicking backside. Yeah,
well, how about this? We have got the players on the server ready to go. We have got the map vetoes ready to pull up for you, so we get a little bit of a look as to what we're going to see in this grand final. And there we go. The banner split and Fracture goes swiftly out. Rick's then go ahead and pick up Ascent. It's a Gladius pick on to Bind. See you later, Breeze. We're not feeling too cold today as Icebox is out of the equation, and we're left to get, you know, a rematch basically on two maps we saw yesterday, with Haven being the final decider should we need it.
Yeah, I would really be excited to watch more of that Haven. Even though it was a 13-9, it was dominant, honestly, for Ricks in a lot of different ways, but we saw flashes of hope from Gladius, and I'd love to see them and see if they improve on that one as well. The Bind is going to be interesting. We've got some really cool picks coming out from Ricks GG on that. They love to be running the Neon among other things, and they've been running the Neon on a couple different maps, so we might get to see that on Ascent or even Haven too.
Well, I was actually talking to a couple of the Ricks guys this morning on Twitter, and I was just sort of mucking around with Sagino saying, like, you know, I expect more 4Ks and aggro off your start, and then Rex was replying like, don't worry, he's not going to get the A's, he'll only get 4, because I'm just going to fly at someone round 1 of the final with Neon and just slide into their face. So whether or not he lives up to that expectation is something to be seen a little bit. But I think we are ready to finally head in towards the game. Map number 1 is going to be coming up now for you. We're going to duck and dive our way off our beautiful faces and into the map in the sky. That's, of course, going to be Ascent. And let's talk a little bit about this Agent Select.
Yeah, and we're seeing it come through very quickly here. Not surprised to see double Fade here. There's not going to be the Euro from Mercedes Peak. They're definitely picking up that Fade. He's been playing the entire tournament here, so don't get too excited for that one. Pretty standard comp for Gladius. They run this comp on pretty much every map, if they lock in that Fade, that is. If I'm going to get completely bamboozled and they run the Euro, well, so be it. But Rex back over on that Sage, playing that more kind of entrapment style. Fantastic at cutting up the map. Force Sagino to really just nail down their opponent.
Yeah, so Rex is quite an aggressive Sage player as well, to be totally honest with you. Not only can he sometimes take his foot off the gas and play very well behind the ability and util setup he has, whether it be the wall or the slow orbs, for example, and just hold really tight knit angles. He doesn't mind getting a little bit aggressive with his walls as well, and especially over towards that beat side, he'll fly straight out into Garage and push them right back into their spawn still and wall it off. So they get complete control over Garage early on B site, and you know, I think that's something that we could talk about that could cause the likes of Gladius a few problems, because I think at the start of yesterday's game, I think it was 7-1 at one point, or 6-1 in favor of Gladius on this map yesterday. You know, it took Rix a very long time to adjust to the way that Gladius were playing, and they were getting in their face. And then once the likes of Sagino, and you got to say a huge shout out to Lou as well. I thought Lou played fantastically well on the fade yesterday. Also started to step up. You know, it was only going to start to swing one way into those overtimes, and that was in favor of Rix. But we are nearly there, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know in the chat at home what your predictions are. Rook, final thoughts before we fed into this one?
I think it's going to be a Rick static performance. They've looked so good recently, and honestly, they are hungry for those beacon points. I think they really want to make it up to the upper echelon.
I would like to say I agree, but I disagree at the same time. I think Gladius, they would have looked back at yesterday and sort of seen the results and how some of the closer rounds. I think how many rounds did we see yesterday where I think, you know, Gladius found like 1v3s or 1v2s and the time just ticked out, or there wasn't enough, you know, firepower coming back the other way. If Gladius can rectify that and probably fix that, I think we should see a very, very evenly, I would say a more even game than yesterday, but I'm not too sure if that's actually necessarily possible, if that is even possible, because you saw like I said, an 18-16, I think, in map number 1, even at 13-9, you said it was a bit of a dominating performance from Rix, but like you mentioned, Gladius did cause them a little bit of trouble at times.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right, is Gladius, they have some amazing fraggers, potentially some of the best individual players in this tournament here today, well, and yesterday and all the other days as well, but the difference is that Rick's Static are a much more well-drilled team. They understand the game a bit better, and I think that's the kind of difference we're going to see here. Because you see players like Sagino really pop off, yes, but at the same time, when Mike is on his stuff, he's on his stuff.
Yeah, well, this is something that we've seen O2 familiar from the side of Gladius, and that's going to be Samo aggression out towards the likes of A-Main. Going to try and find the first with that rendezvous. Does, snaps onto Rex. That's going to be the spike down early on, so a little bit of information for the side of Gladius. And the first blood and first draw here in this map number 1 on Ascent in the grand finals of the official Beacon Circuit event, the penultimate one. Of course, we've got one more stop on the first phase of the Beacon Road. That's going to be the Guild Academy Series next weekend. Make sure you guys tune into that if you haven't, and see if these teams can try and claim their spot into the highest division and fight out for that $10,000 prize pool.
Oh, Cam gets way too big for his boots, and Peter plays anti-flash, deals with him, and now they're looking to maybe move towards that A site, shift on over. They've got the smite close by already, but well aware that they could lose a player very quickly, especially with Samo playing in this position.
He's so smart with the way he uses the headhunter as well. You know, some people, they try to spray it like the likes of a sheriff would, but Samo, it's always single tap fires, and he usually hits the heads 9 out of 10 times, and there you go. Maybe 3 out of 3 times, 4 out of 4 times for Samo, who tries to find the ace. And already we mentioned if there's one player on the side of Gladius, we usually highlight Mercedes Peak, but this big chamber battle between Sagino and Samo is something that we cannot afford to sort of question out of, because if Samo can get the upper hand on Sagino, that's a lot of firepower for Rick shut down.
It really is, and it's something we were actually worried about yesterday, whether Samo would be able to deliver in his matches versus Prophet from Cognizant. He didn't have the best performance. He had a decent one for sure, didn't play too badly, but right now he has 4 frags, and look at that ultimate. 5 points already to his name. He can have it next round.
This is going to be great. This is exactly going to be great, because he'll probably end up, and that's exactly why he's saving. Oh, actually, no, he's actually going to get the Spectre, because what he can do is, if he gets a few kills and dies with the Spectre, he can buy someone else into a Vandal and then pop the Tour de Force at the end of the round should he find two frags. So this is a great start from Gladius, not only in terms of finding the first round to get yourself what should be a free round on the anti-eco, but in terms of the ult economy for Samo as well. And it'll be interesting to see how that chamber battle does differ and start to unfold throughout the rest of this game. We have got a lot of Valorant for you today. The best of 3 series, of course, here in the grand final. And early on, Gladius, it looks like they come in with a clear game plan here, Rook. They know how they want to play it. They're taking a lot of control over the map. Look at that, complete A site control for the defensive side of things. So that's going to force the side of Rix over towards this B site, and 3 players are lying in wait.
Yeah, you can see them waiting for a chance to kind of move on up, but at the same time, Sagino very aware that if he gets caught out here, then that kind of strong point of the team, that player who really can frag out and open things up, will not be able to do his job. You can see the KOs as well and everything. Waiting around, 3 players keeping their eyes on these important positions, and now they start to move.
Here comes the side of Rix GG, led by that man, Sagino, going to rendezvous his way back out of trouble, but Rex manages to get himself out towards Switch, and although Mercedes Peak and Mike are there to find a couple for the side of Gladius, it is actually Rix who are going to recover a few guns, and there's Sagino to find one onto Mike. So, Spike in the hands of the attacking side, 2 Spectres, I believe, to work with as well now. For the side of Gladius, They found themselves in a 1v1 in a round where they should really, really have took the upper advantage. All Peg has to do is play around here, but he overpeaks. Halsey finds the kill, and that's a huge round for Gladius to find because Rix, they looked very, very dangerous there.
Yeah, and this is what Gladius really want to be doing, but we have seen it before, right? They're good at these pistol rounds, they're good at picking up these anti-ecos, but the problem is here is this time they won't have that kind of economic advantage as we've seen before. Losing 4 players in that round to what was pretty much nothing from Rick Static is pretty darn brutal, and you're going to kind of see that reflected in the economy now. They have so little. This isn't really a bonus round anymore. It's more like a little bit of an eco with a cherry on top.
Yeah, probably a couple of headhunter bullets coming in from Samo as well. If he finds one, of course, he'll have that tour de force instantly online. Halsey still keeping the Spectre through, a frenzy buyer for Cam, and the Sheriff in the hands of Mike as well. But a full set of rifles. 4 Vandals, just the 1 Phantom for the side of Rix.
Agility starting to be invested, trying to get that information earlier. Rix know that they have the weapon advantage, and they're looking to flaunt it.
Sagino gonna find the first pick. That's Samo who falls. Mike collects one with the paint shells. Can Mike swing off the contact? He can. And all of a sudden, Rix, in what should have been a very straightforward round for themselves, finds it in a 2 versus 2. That big flank, though, going to be coming in from Halsey on the Omen all the way over towards a main. Whether or not, though, he'll be able to isolate a player and find a kill. He has got the Spectre, so maybe the Flash Paranoia and the TP onto site could come into play. But I think it is going to be a bit of a tough spot. He has to try and isolate one of these players first, though, and allow himself to get on site with Mercedes Peak. And there you go, a huge haunt's going to reveal the location of the player. Lou's been isolated at 25 HP towards the back of site. The haunt comes through, reveals Halsey can't find any shots onto it. A big bonus round here, potentially for the side of Gladius. The whiff on Lou. Mercedes Peak with a kill. First break of the economy, 3 rounds in. Gladius 3-0.
Man, that was so sad to see. And honestly, for Rick Static, it started off so well, but then it all fell apart. Gladius really understood how they were going to get the punishes there. Coordinated so darn well. They were putting pressure onto Cam. Cam's sitting in that little corner, and as soon as someone was shooting from the other side, he turned and Mike peeked, got the frag, and they just turned everything on its head.
It's so smart from Mercedes Peak and Halsey at the end as well, because he knows. Mercedes Peak knew that it was one player towards Generator, and that player at Generator knew that Mercedes Peak was there. So even just popping the haunt to force the player to shoot it out, it steers the attention away from the entrance to A main, outswings Halsey, and from then they just got to isolate the player backside and trade the kill out. It's exactly what they do. And Gladius having the most ideal start here, and it goes from better to great as Samu's going to find Rex.
Going to have to be a little bit snowy now. If you're Rick Static, you have none of those rifles, and now you're down a player as well. Not exactly where you wanted to be starting. But don't forget, these Sheriffs still can certainly find those frags. Maybe it will be the 145 at this longer range. But if looking at up close and personal, it'll be very damaging.
2 ults though on the side of Rix to Investor. They want it tour de force for Sagino. Lou has got that ult on the fade as well. Be a bit overzealous to invest him here though onto the eco round if you ask me. Halsey, a bit of bad timing, just got to lie in wait, can't find any though as Peter's going to find the headshot with the Sheriff. So, spike site control momentarily in favour for the side of Rix, but guess what? They've sold this fake perfectly, Rook. Look, number player 7 on your side is going to be Sagino. He's going to take that spike over towards B site maybe.
They've still not got the spike. They're still not actually moving onto that B site. Finally, they're removing Pexazus over there to pick that one up and set up for it. But I think at this point, Gladius have seen that and gone, okay, now it's our time to shine. We know that the rotate's likely there, so they're starting to move players over. Key, though, is Sergino's positioning right here. He really catch some of them off guard. They're actually still not rotating. I'm very surprised by this.
Yeah, Sagino needs to put the other rendezvous teleport down to link it together, because this is a bit of an obvious spot where he's going to be sat and pushed out towards CT here. I'm not too sure if he has the other one placed onto his foot. It's going to be a bit of a peek around the corner here from 1. There you go. That's the kill. He actually gets out as well with his life.
Man, what a smooth criminal there. Really should not have been able to get away with that. But a misstep from Gladius means that there's now an opportunity, a juncture for Rick Static here to pick up this round.
Yeah, great stuff here though, and positioning from Peg. He's not going to anticipate it. Samo is going to fall, although Mercedes Peak trades. Peg snaps onto the head with the Sheriff. This is huge here for the controller player on the side of Rix. He's got to just try and dodge his way out of trouble. He does. They run out of time. Rix, what a huge 2v5 there from the side of Rix. And Gladius, that was very, very sloppy from them.
And that is the thing we've had the worries about with Gladius. They're a strong team. They can deliver. but sometimes they don't do their due diligence. They don't check those corners, and they lose rounds like that. That was literally multiple instances of not checking your corners, losing a player, and then somehow it gets pulled away from you. Rick Static showing again, though, that they have the tenacity that even when they're down, they're not out for the count.
How many times, though, have we seen throughout this competition Ricks make their own life hard to do, right? We've seen them many times lose the first few rounds and try and claw their way back into things, and every single time they just manage to be able to do it. Looking for one of those performances here once again today. The side of Gladius, though, that's so disappointing from them. They were looking so good at the start. Do it, Mike. Do it. He finds the first. That's big, though, because that's basically just used as a bait, as Mike's going to be able to get his way out of trouble because Rex could have swung to find the kill. It doesn't matter, though, as the kill does get traded back through. So, with a minute and 10 left to go here in round number 5. We're looking at a 4v4. Spike very, very much stuck in the middle of the map.
This is where Gladius can be fantastic at putting that pressure on, but considering they've already lost their chamber in Samo, might be a little bit harder to really do that one now as Rick Static, again, shift over towards that A side. We see a couple of players starting to move on in, and I think Mercedes Peak is thinking, do I make that maneuver over as well to give us that little bit of extra defense, especially with all this utility going in. You see the move coming right away.
No, it's going to be popped, followed by the ult on the fade. That's going to be Lou. Tour de force out as well from Sagino, so a big, big investment here into this round number 5 from the side of Ricks. On the flip side, though, Gladius, they've not got much to work with on the retake here. Not a lot of util available. The smoke does go out towards a main note, just trying to
give them a chance here. That nade is going to do a decent job in keeping them bound for now, but Lou still delivers and is trying to find it through the bottom there.
Yeah, it's going to be Peter who finds one as well. Mike instantly traded back, though, with that operator. Pop flash comes through. 2 players drop down. Rex holds his nerve. So does Sagino. Trades out. Although it's a triple from Mike, it's the second on the board for Rex.
Rex not getting hit by that flash was so darn important there. Otherwise, that would have easily been clearing out the bottom, the hell area. And that would have been so nice for Gladius to maybe try and find something there. Still a decent amount of damage. It wasn't a massive amount of frags to be able to find. They still had 3 players left alive, but at least they managed to get something on the board here. Gladius, however, need to really recoup their losses. That's why they're going for an eco here.
Yeah, should be the side of Ricks here with the round to throw away. But on the flip side, though, when Gladius thought they had a very straightforward, smooth sailing round, it was the side of Ricks who come back to bite, though. To be honest with you, in that round, though, there was a few ult economies available for the side of Rick Static. None here really for Gladius apart from that from the shadows. And this really will come down to whether or not Samo can find the first pick. He can't, but that is going to be the contact found. He actually found a huge tag onto the body of Sagino as well. Down to 50-odd HP. The heal will come through from Rex, but so does the headshot come from Cam. Speaking of Rex, he's there to trade it back out. Revive comes in, so lose back into this one.
They're investing a lot here. They used that heal as well already. It's already been invested. And that res now. Rick Static are making sure that they can stand the test of time, that they can deal with all of the fatigue that they're having to take to get on into Gladius. But the aggression here from Samo doesn't work out this time. He goes down, and now that B site is looking squishier and squishier by the second as you see players start to pile in from Rick Static.
Yeah, Mercedes Pete trying to use the Haunt to reveal a location and pick up a wallbang or 2 with the Sheriff. None to the avail, though. And that Spike looks like it's just going to be tiptoeing its way over towards the middle of the map. But Mike lying in wait, so sneaky here. We've seen him do it once or twice before here. Usually he doesn't mind sitting with the judge as well, but that is such a big 0 point. Oh, Mike! That could have gone so well, but it goes so wrong at the same time. Peter's there to find the headshot, shuts down the raise towards short, although Housey is the last line of defense on this A site for now. He's not going to be able to... Oh my god, Housey, you're nuts. For a second, I thought he was going to make one of the most ridiculous Omen TP plays I've ever seen. Mercedes laughed alive. 5 up for Ricks. And just like that, after it was an initial 3 on the bounce for Gladius, 3 of their own from Ricks, and we're tied up at 3 apiece.
I believe, but also Gladius found themselves in the same position that I believe we've seen before, actually. Finding those first couple of rounds and then instantly seeding them right and back. And Rick Static are just so happy to take those freebies. You cannot be making mistakes like this against the upper echelon of teams. And Rick Static are absolutely that.
Absolutely that indeed. Pig is going to find the final kill, though, from the shadows for him. Will be now online and available in the next round.
So the interesting thing here is, though, that Gladius, they now have those rifles again. And they have 3 ultimates. And they're really nice ones as well. Great ways to try and force on into a site. You've got the Null Command. You've got the Fade ultimate to really set you up and track those players, deal with them as well, and stop them from playing around with all that utility, which otherwise could be so problematic. If you pop Null Command, go on the site, and Rex can't wall or slow orb or anything of that sort, you're going to have such a better time at actually cracking out a lot of these on the retake, or for example the shutdown when you want to get aggressive.
Well, speaking of getting aggressive, a little bit of aggression towards short here in Garden from the defensive side of Gladius. They've got 3 players set up in and around towards the A site, waiting to pounce should the opportunity arise. And I like the change of pace though here from Rix. They've just eased off the gas a little bit after winning those first, losing the first few, bounce back with 3 of their own. I think they know here that this 4th round could be very, very key for momentum. Yeah,
they need to make sure they don't slip up, so they're playing around. And they're going to use all the time to its very bitter end. That's something Rick Static have actually done quite a lot of. They understand how to use the clock. But Mike getting blocked off here. Paint shells could be good, but it depends on the pace of the push here. It's a late nade, but it buys them that space at the very least. Teleport to try and get extra information, check and see if anyone's backside. But they stick, and they didn't see Mercedes peek, so that's the first frag. But it's still go time. They're not stopping.
Here comes the side of Rix, but the delay out of Mike on the satchel comes through. Pop flash from Peter. Mercedes still lying in wait. But speaking of lying in wait, it was Mike. He chokes though. Peter finds the headshot. Mercedes peek. Just got to spray and pray, but he can't out-aim the operator of Sagino. Look at Lou here. Can he spot the head? He saw the pixel with the head. He knows one player's there. Absolutely huge from Lou. Whiffs the first few. It doesn't matter though, because he's going to turn around and find the kill either way. How's he falls? That's going to force Lou out, though. Great fragment from Cam, but great shots from Lou as he finds 2. And all of a sudden, Samo finds himself in a 2 versus 1.
Does indeed. He really wants to get this res, otherwise it's pretty much impossible. He's going to be able to stabilize the core, but look at the shots as soon as he comes back up. He's right back down. Rex knows how reses work. He plays this Sage, and he's able to deal with that pretty darn handily. And some big mistakes there, honestly. Mike should have been able to deliver so darn well in that situation, but he whiffs the shots yet again. That's unfortunate. See, as I said, I highlighted this player. I said he can pop, but right now he's struggling at times.
Yep, sitting at 9 and 6 though, not too bad. And I mean, for the side of Gladius, if it was something we said, right? We actually said it about both teams. To be totally honest with you, Rick. If they can sort of iron out these minor mistakes and minor errors that they make, they can be a very, very good team. It's just you can't afford at this level of competition to make those errors and to make those mistakes, because teams like this will come back and punish you.
Really well. Samo steps forward. Oh, man, he's hit those shots before, but Sergino is always quicker with this operator in comparison to that Sheriff. Again, Rick Stack find themselves in the driver's seat here because they get that first frag.
Yep. Not only do they find the first frag, they find the A site uncontested and free of charge as well. So this is going to be a 5 versus 4 post plant. Samo edging his way around, but look at this from Lou.
They know.
It's so smart from Lou that he's going to be... The timing comes in, although Lou does find one onto Mercedes peak. Samo instantly trades it back out. Mike, excuse me, question mark. Questionable placement there from you. As Mike's really been struggling with confidence, I think, in this event. You know, 1 minute he's popping off and having really crazy games. Look, he's a very talented individual player, 100%. You know, especially on that raise. He can get the work done. But I think he just needs to relax a little bit. I don't know if it's a bit of LAN jitters, maybe, grand final nerves, but just relax, you know, just take a few deep breaths, compose yourself some of the time, because it all's a little bit rushed from both sides, to be totally honest with you. But Peter is going to find a triple. That's going to be the shot cleaned up for the side of Gladius, and Rick's... From losing the first 3, they found 5 uncontested.
Aim is such a confidence thing, right? Like, you need to be sure in everything you're doing, and I feel that's the big difference here, right? Gladius, they came in swinging, they're like, yeah, it's our time, but Rick Static, they seem to not falter in that regard. They're always ready to play, they're always ready to frag, and that's why you see Sergino right now at the top of that leaderboard in terms of kills, constantly able to put up those numbers. He's only died 4 times, honestly, in these 8 rounds. Shows how much he's able to play from a very safe position, too.
Rifles still in the hands though of Gladius, but the no command out, followed by the flash. Very solid aggression from the side of Rix. It's going to be Mercedes to find the first. There goes the KO. There goes the fade as Lou is going to fall. Triple the luck for Mercedes, and Mike finally finding the snappy aim. We always say, guess who's there? just in the nick of time for the side of Gladius. It's always Mercedes Peak, so solid, so composed. Finds a triple, Mike finds the double. They must have been listening. They must have been listening to say, guys, just relax a little bit. Don't be too overzealous. Get your aim down, get it locked in, and then find yourself some kills, and that's exactly what happens.
I mean, if we're talking about relaxed, right, Mercedes Peak is just that. Always in the business zone, always ready to deliver. And I love this guy. He always manages to find those cheeky positions at the back of B-side. We saw it in the last one with the Odin as well, where he found so many frags. And that's really important for Gladius, right, because they were going to lose a lot off the back of the previous gun round that they'd lost. The economy was looking shattered, but they still managed to live here, and they get the operator back in the hand of Samo. And even if things go wrong, they've got that tour de force.
Yeah, not only that as well, Rick Static, their economy is not looking the greatest now either. It's only, I think, Sagino and Lou that have got money to buy into the next should they lose this. So there's a bit of a fight around here, number 10. Hit the middle stages of the game, of course, just a few rounds left until we take a swift swap of the sides here on the first map of Ascent. If you've just joined us, 16 teams battled it out all weekend here at the penultimate stop on the initial phase of the Beacon Circuit for Northern European Valorant here at EPIC36. We're just left with these two titans of Gladius and Rick's Static, a rematch of actually yesterday's upper bracket final. That ended in 2-0 fashion for the side of Rick's Static, but it was a very, very close game. And already I think you can see that's a bit of a replication here into map number 1.
Yeah, definitely keeping at it. But Gladius don't want that to happen. Things looked so heartbreaking for them. In fact, they were looking like they were just going to go down without a fight at the end of that second half. But they clutched it up, and that was the most important thing to see, that they still had some fight left in them. Halsey just about gets out of here as you see that fade ult come on in, and I'd be a little bit worried if you're Gladius right now.
Yeah, a little bit worried indeed, but a few people that won't be worried at the side of Rick's at the moment, because guess what? They've got their way onto A site for what feels like the 100th time here in a sense. Okay, I understand Gladius, to be fair. They have got the ults to play retake with that Nightfall on the fade, of course. And we're speaking of Nightfall, here it comes. Mike finds the first with the Showstopper, with the nade, Showstopper. Speaking of it, there you go. Peg's going to drop out of this one as it's all up to Peter and Sagino. Left alive towards long. Sagino, excuse me, hello. First bullet, first kill through the smoke. Mike finds the triple. Sagino there to double his luck. Can't triple it though, or can he? He does, but the defuse is stuck. 5 apiece here between Gladius and Ricks.
Too little, too late, unfortunately, for Sagino to actually make that happen there. But that shot through the smoke was dirty. Cannot believe he found that one, and yet again shows just what a superlative player they are. So Gladius right now, very happy with that round, but obviously taking a little bit more damage than they would have liked. And they will actually be able to full buy up on the side of Ricks. They'll be able to get all those rifles. Sure, there's light armor on Rex, and obviously the tour de force for Sagino. But on the whole, Gladius are pretty comfortable now as they can pick up a couple of rounds here, maybe get an advantage going to the next, and I think they're going to need that, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sagino has got a tour de force, like you mentioned, and
Let's play.
I mean, we talk about, you know, key battles. This Sagino-Samo battle, it's literally one to just continue to talk about, and I think as well the Lou versus Mercedes Peak battle on the fades is something that we should probably highlight and mention a little bit too. Both players can go huge for their squad. I think Mercedes Peak has probably just had the edge here in map number 1 so far on Ascent, but you know, all 5 of these players here, they have that X factor, that flip of the switch factor about them, where they can turn on the afterburners and really go to town should they need to for their squad at any point, really.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who does it, though. That's the thing, because we've had different players pop up every single time. That's made for a very interesting series. Cam is one of those players who can be a little bit quiet time, great role player for the team, but also you never can count them out. But Rick Static playing a really slow and ironically static composition right now, as they're not really pushing forward. They're waiting for a lot of that utility to get expired, and then they'll be able to kind of make their move with all the utility that they have available to themselves. So they're looking to do that now and take control of that mid, which is going to be pivotal to the way they push on in here.
Pop flash comes through. Guess what? Not only the pop flash, the spray and pray for the 2K, and Cam gonna find the triple as well. There's the nade. See you later, Rex, buddy. That spike's all mine today. And just like that, Rex, they are dropped completely out of the equation here on Ascent. Another flash as well in the locker for the side of Gladius, but Lou and Sagino, they're there once again, the dynamic duo for the side of Ricks, but it doesn't matter because Mike's going to find to Sagino. That spike's still down. Halsey's there lying in wait, and Gladius putting 6 from the board here.
Yeah, really well played by Lou, actually, to nearly bring this back. But at the end of the day, that play from Cam, a player I was literally just highlighting, thank God, he just shows up at the perfect moment in time to deliver Gladius a 3K that pretty much cuts out the real weight of that round from Rick Static, where they really wanted to be pushing up mid, putting on pressure from that markup position, but instead they had to force onto that B site, and sure, it worked for a time, but they didn't have that time because they waited so long, because they tried to make Gladius use that utility to try and get information and find themselves an opening in this round.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, look at the economy on Rex, Spectre. I think a Spectre in the hands of Lou as well. It's looking a lot better here for the side of Gladius, but Samo, an uncharacteristic miss on the tour de force there. How consistent has he been all weekend? Usually finding the frags left, right, and center. Could it come back to bite the side of Gladius? Peg is going to spot Mercedes. Peek, the flash comes through. The swing comes through. So does the kill. The Bulldog doing the work. But guess what? So is the Vandal of Cam. But it doesn't matter because Peter's there. Rex does fall. Sagino finds a couple as well. And all of a sudden, Housey left alone on that ace site. And we should be tied up at 6 apiece here. Bar only last minute heroics from Housey. Going into the second half here on map number 1.
Yeah, that was really well played from Static, and that's what they were looking to do last round. Apart from that time, Cam completely tore them a new one. This time, it'll be up to Housey to do just that, but 1 versus 3, it will have to be some heroics to pull that one back, especially when he's playing on this controller. He can cut off some of those angles, but there's not really too much we could do. Now, that's the problem I'm having right now with Gladius, is it does require someone to really step up and swing for the fences to actually find them around, whereas it feels like when Ricks win, it's because it's a coordinated, really strong effort.
Yeah, I mean, you say that. However, Gladius, though, they're still right in this game at 6 rounds apiece here. And, okay, Housey, the spray transfer nearly goes off. And like you mentioned, if they can just get this coordination together a little bit better for the side of Gladius, then you'd like to think they'll throw a lot more questions at Ricks, and we're not too sure if they have the answer, because we've seen Ricks time and time again. When they're put under a little bit of pressure, they can start to crumble here, Rook, and they're you know, they're no demigods, they're no unbeatable icons here in Valorant. Let's be honest. I mean, yes, they've looked very, very good, and as of now, they are unbeaten in the whole event, if I'm correct. I don't think they've dropped a map, have they? I don't think they have.
They dropped a map versus Temperate.
Oh, they dropped a map versus Temperate. I mean, and to be fair, losing a map to second seed isn't unheard of, is it? Let's be honest. But you know, but Ricks, they have got a few sort of chinks in their armor. They've really got a few vulnerabilities that many good teams could take advantage of. I
mean, we saw Gladius do it before. They took them really to the bitter end on this map. Sure, they didn't win, but we certainly saw some vulnerability because they just did not look comfortable enough to be able to pick this one up. Mike, they're going to be comfortable enough, but that flash buys them space, but not enough as Ricks. They find the shot. Samo tries to deliver them from the bad situation, but it's not enough when there are so many guns pointed their way.
Yeah, great stuff from Ricks, and the reason why they've won that round is because they've done their homework on how Gladius want to play the pistol round. We've seen it a lot here, in particular on the likes of Ascent, where they like to get a little bit aggressive towards mid. Samo sometimes will try and pop out and find the first frag with the likes of the Headhunter. What do? They have a nice old stack over towards the A site. They send one through mid to act as a bit of a distraction, and just like that, it is going to be not done and dusted just yet.
No.
Let's be honest. The spike is down, though. Ricks are going to be wrapping their way back over towards the A site. Mercedes with full util available here. And 45 seconds left on the clock. This isn't the worst of spots he finds himself into. Of course, going to have the Ghost available on the floor to try and pick up 2. And that's going to work to his advantage.
I'm surprised here that they aren't holding the spike, but hey, whatever floats you go, I guess. They are going to give away that spike. They're going to give a chance over to Mercedes Peak to get that spike on down. And I think that could be a massive mistake from Rick Static here, because if there is a player who's going to clutch, oh, you know it's going to be Mercedes.
And it's a vital mistake as well, because if he gets the spike done and he isolates a 1 versus 1 and instantly puts it into that 1v1 at the end, the side of Gladius, you know, they're looking a little bit more likely to win this round. Ricks, they're going to be obviously a player short. But I like this here, though. I like this here from the side of Ricks. They're staying together. All you got to do is face off the contact with each other. I think the KO might have a flash left as well.
Yeah. Both players, however, are headshot able from this Ghost. They will die to it, so that's something you've got to keep in mind. I think Rick Static are very aware. They know Mercedes plays in the back here. It's all he does.
Mercedes, can he find the first? He thinks one, finds the first, can't get any more, though, as Sagino's there to clean up shop. 35 HP. He was the player that I think Sagino dinked through the Radianite box. So, unfortunately for the side of Gladius, they do drop early in round number 13. First of the half, and as things do switch over, we are going to see the first bit of economy spent here in the hands of Rix.
Let's see if they're able to convert it over. We've seen some strong eco rounds so far. Not so much this game, but in the previous series, we saw Gladius really take control early on. But we didn't really get to see too much in terms of pistol wins from Rick Static here. If they can really convert that, we're probably seeing an entirely different beast, because Rick Static, when they're in control, they look so in control, and it's going to be very hard for Gladius to actually take anything back unless we see again those miracles. But we have been seeing rather quite a lot of them. That's the thing.
Probably too many of them,
Sure.
to be totally honest with you as well, Rook. I mean, Rick's going to have the upper hand here in this round. It's going to be Mike for the side of Gladius, who falls early, unfortunately. And this was the wall I was talking about, that Rick's likes to put out over towards Garage. You know, Rex, he plays so aggressive behind it, especially now with the Spectre at close range. There's no better weapon you could probably have there apart from maybe a Judge, for example. But even still, it's a tough spot for the side of Gladius to try and break through. I think Samo's going to try and isolate him. The swing will come through. Lou doubles up. And only 2 players left alive now here for the side of Gladius.
Again, the fundamentals from Rick Static, really, really solid. As soon as that happens, as soon as Rex is under pressure, Lou swings, gets the frags and covers for them, doesn't even let their teammate go down. Whereas Gladius, again, looking a little bit difficult in the way they're trying to push on into these sites now. With the flank coming in here from Sagino, this is not looking good for them.
30 seconds left.
Flash comes through as well from Peg soon, surely. There's the paranoia. There's the first. Second should be cleaned up relatively quickly as well. And that's going to be Sagino to put another on the board in his kill department. Just boosting that average combat score up a little bit more. Not like he needs it overall in terms of the Beacon stuff. I think he's like top 3 in terms of average combat score throughout the Beacon events. And 19 and 8, there's no reason for this, you know. You wonder why he's so high up the leaderboard, but that's because he's just an absolutely ludicrously insane player. But for the side of Rix, they're going to be onto that bonus. Just the Spectres, a Sheriff in the hand of Peter as well. The Vandals go into the locker in the armory of the side of Gladius. What have Gladius got to do here, Rook, to get back into this game? Of course, it starts surely with winning this bonus round.
I mean, naturally, if you don't win this, then your eco goes down. Rick Static are probably hitting 10, they're hitting their double digits. But what they can do is win out these early duels, find those first frags, and dictate the pace from there. When Gladius have an advantage, they can push it oh so well. And alongside that, we need to see a lack of mistakes, a lack of unforced errors, honestly, from Gladius, because we've seen a couple that have really cost them the round and cost them games, in fact, as a result.
Is it going to cost them this round, though? That's the question. So far, so good for the side of Gladius here. No mistakes made on their first buy round as Mercedes. Going to take out Peter as well. So the 2-player advantage here for Gladius is going to hopefully work in their favor. But one paranoia flash and swing here from Peg. Oh dear, he's got out as well. Finds the first, finds the second. Gladius, how are you letting it happen? You can't afford to do that. Peg, he's such an intelligent player as well. You know, he knows the angles that smoke's going to cover. He tiptoes his way around it, shuts down Samo, cleans up shop onto Mike as well. And the heavy numbers advantage on what looked like it could have been a comfortable round for the side of Rix, the side of Gladius. Rix just answers straight back.
Yeah, they do indeed. Good push through there. They deal with Pegasus finally. But, oh, I thought Sergino was going to be able to get the drop on them, but it wasn't enough. And Rix, I mean, they get some good damage in for sure, but it's still the round going over the way of Gladius, which is a sigh of relief, honestly, for Gladius. If they don't pick that up, things get looking shaky real darn quick.
Well, now it's whether or not the side of Gladius can try and buy in and play into that shakiness of Rix as well that you were mentioning, because again, highlighting the point I think I made a few rounds ago, when you ask questions of Rick, sometimes they just really don't have the answers and the solutions to anything you throw their way. And this buy round here on the third round of the second half is going to be vital. Samo, there you go, opens the affairs. That's the first kill. So far, so good for Gladius.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is sometimes when they don't have an answer, the answer is Sergino, go frag. And, you know, I think Gladius have managed to copy down their homework and gone, Samo, go frag, get that first frag, and set them up for a really strong round. And that was what I was asking for from them, so I'm glad to see it. And I'm glad to see that they're at least trying for something here. But when Lou hits those shots, it just hurts, man.
Yep, hurts indeed. Hurts the head of Samo in particular. No, come on. Comes through, followed by the Nightfall Prowler out to try and locate one of the players from the side of Rix, and it is going to be Lou who is spotted. Can Mike hold his nerve? He does. He finds the kill finally. The Rays stepping up for the side of Gladius. Spike will go down in the hands of the attacking side, and speaking of going down, it's Peter who falls. Sagino can find one. Mike there once again to find the second of his round. Cam picks up the kill onto Peg, and Gladius answer straight back.
Again, man, when it's not Gladius sitting around waiting for something to happen, it's great from them. You saw Mike, for example, literally step up to the plate and find those frags when someone got aggressive. They were playing more coordinated around each other. They were getting on the same page rather than just letting it be 1 for 0, 1 for 0, 1 for 0, which Rick Static have been able to get so many times purely because they've been playing the buddy system and understanding how these kind of interactions work across the entirety of the map rather than just around individual players versus individual players.
If Gladius can shut down Surge, they win this match.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, again, I don't want to take anything away from the side of Rix. Yesterday, it was a more team performance out of Rix, and the numbers were a little bit closer in terms of you had Lou, for example, putting up 20. You had the likes of Rex putting up 20 frags. Everyone right now is under double-digit kills apart from Sagino, who's sound 20. So, at the moment, Gladius, that team play, that team coordination, that team spirit that you were talking about and highlighting at the start of the series in the post-show, in the pre-show, is really what is playing dividend for Gladius, and it's playing dividend very well because they've got the two-player advantage here in this round.
Yeah, they're going to be able to find a lot here, and if Rick Static don't manage to step up a little bit more, they might find themselves taken out of this tournament in that second place, which is really not what they want to be. But it'd be so good for Gladius to move on up from a relatively low standing into what would be, well, pretty much qualifying.
Samo trying to go sneaky and catch the players from Rix by surprise. He does. He finds the triple. It's only the eco round out of the side of Rix, though, so no need to get carried away and worry too much if you're a Rix GG Static supporter. But again, let's look at this kill column, right? Mike, 18 frags. We finally said he needed to step up, and this is the game that he does just that. Samo behind him at 17, even Mercedes and Cam chipping in and doing their jobs. But on the other side of things, it's only Sagino that's really holding his own. Yes, okay, we've seen Lou have a few, you know, clutch moments. We've seen Peg, I think it was in the 3 versus, in the 2 versus 1 or something like that, where he popped off. Other than that, the side of Rix, they're really, really struggling. And, you know, it almost looks like Gladius are the fresher team here and haven't been the team that have played the 1 extra series late last night.
Yeah, it's really weird to see, honestly. And maybe Rix need to warm up a little bit. Maybe they need to get into the right gear, but they don't have much time for that. Gladius could easily take this map and take the next in short order, like, well, Rix did to them in the previous series. But knowing the way these guys play, it's going to be an absolute snopper up to the very end, so that might favor Rick Static, giving them the time to get into gear and really just, well, run down their opponents at the very bitter end here. Rex waiting up on the wall, looking for a chance to play spoiler to any sort of shenanigans happening here, but a slower approach from Gladius is not a miss here.
Yep, and I feel like the side of Rix, they're walking on eggshells ever so slightly, you could say, at the moment on the defensive half. Seems like Gladius they're playing their way around the map very, very well. They're split pushing fantastically. They've got 1 out towards long, 3 stacked towards mid to try and get control. And they've got Samo playing spoiler against Sagino. Although Peter's there to answer straight back, though, it's
Yep. It's definitely something, and they're going to actually invest that ultimate to go right on back here, but Peter turns up in the nick of time just to try and catch him. So now that push is not quite as good as they want, but Halsey still finds the frag. He's sent back, but that's exactly where he wanted to be, and with the Odin, they take out Peter, and now that A site is wide, wide open.
Halsey is going to fall, though, for the side of Gladius. 2 versus 3. Rix and Peg has got the Nightfall ult for the fade as well. From the shadows, could be invested from Peg should you want to scout out some information. And if I'm honest, you probably from the shadows towards the back of the site, get the info, cancel it, and then pop the fade ult straight away so you can reveal the locations once again. And it's very, very winnable. The problem that Gladius have, though, all of them are stacked towards site, so 1 or 2 kills here, and it could be an uncomfortable spot. There's the first. It's Lou who finds Cam. Down goes the KO, but the Odin spray is too strong. But the Vandal spray nearly stronger. Odin versus Vandal. Only one winner in my eyes, and that's going to be Mercedes Peak 10-8 Gladius.
Mercedes Peak is the only one making this work, but hell, I love the Odin. So impressive to see him actually making it work. And I mean, obviously, swapping over from that Sova onto the Fade, it makes sense as kind of a transfer over from that one. So good to see there. But the one thing I really want to highlight, Rick Stack, buddy, you had access to the Fade ultimate. You had a bunch of ways to try and give yourself an edge, an advantage in that fight. 2 versus 3, sure you got close, but you could have just won it by investing in ultimate, I feel, at the very least, right?
I mean, like I mentioned, I think that the Nightfall from the Fade should have probably come through just to make your task a little bit easier, so you know where to be aiming at. I mean, unfortunately, though, it doesn't pay off this time, and Gladius a few rounds away from finding the first map here in the grand final. Rick's down to the eco once again. Surge and his trusted headhunter. How many times this dynamic duo ship has worked? Can't work just yet, though, as Samo going to shut down shop once again. And how the tables have turned here, Rook, in this map number 1. It was Sejino that we was praising and saying that they was winning the chamber battle against Samo early on. Samo must be listening to the stream and hearing, hey, Rook, John, put some respect on my name because I'm going to start hitting heads. And boy, oh boy, is he starting to step up.
I'm so glad to see this guy popping off. I remember watching him back on the Jet, and now on that chamber. He's getting a lot more comfortable, a lot more mature as a player as well. He's becoming more mature players. Don't need no aim, just need the brain. That's Pegasus' plan here with the Judge. Just gun him on down, but the dark cover dissipates, and Halsey knows exactly what was coming. They're going to move on into that site, and Rick Static again on the back foot. Looks like it could be 11 rounds now for Gladius, but that's been a cursed number so far this tournament, I will say.
Listen, anytime Ricks have lost 11 rounds and they've got a number to make up, they just win it. I think they were like 11-4 down or 11-3 down against Temperate at one point, and they come back and won the series. So never count Rick Static out, to say the least. They're going to try and find a few exits here, if possible, but they're only going to find the Vandal and Odin of Mercedes Peak and Samo. Triple again for Samo. Tour de Force available for this one. I think the Nightfall might be close for Mercedes Peak once again, and he only invested it a round or 2 ago. He is, that's on 5 out of 7. So Mike close to the showstopper 2. 3 big ults, though, for the side of Rook available here. Yeah,
and regardless of what happens here, they are going to have the money. Look at these guys, 7k on 3 of them, 8k on 1 and 4 on the other. And as you said, with that Tour de Force, they have absolutely everything they could be asking for. Rick Stack, though, this is their last buy in this game. If they don't keep this up, they're going down. They have nothing left in the tank. They don't even have the Tour de Force as mentioned earlier. They've got to make it work.
Speaking of Tour de Force, both of them are going to be popped, and I think they're going to be facing each other top mid. But guess what? It's the normal operator for Sejino that works things out in his favor. When you're playing on the attacking side, it's so hard to have that peak advantage. You got to pretty much fly around the corner, but 9 out of 10 times you're playing against a chamber, you're playing against a Jet in towards mid on the defensive half. They're just going to be holding a wide angle anyway, because it's just such an angle advantage on you. For Ricks, though, you mentioned they got to win this round. The economy's looking shocking if they don't. Lou trying to get aggressive out towards 1. He finds 2. Although Mercedes Peak does find Rex, I think he can't pick up any more, though, as Halsey's there to trade it back through. And in a 3 versus 2, they should give Mike this orb for the showstopper. And this is not done and dusted just yet. A rotation probably likely here from the side of Gladius.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. But, man, that first frag coming through from Sejino might just be the opening that they need, right? You can hear the flashes, so Sejino's watching for it. He's looking for this frag. He knows they're going to push. But they don't.
But if they fake the rotation, this is, oh my god, this is great from Gladius. Mike, just be a little bit more patient, my friend. You've got so much time. Just wait for Peter to scurry his way out of trouble.
He saw.
I think he saw him cross, right? I love the showstopper pop though, because it forces the players to get away. It's going to be Sejino who falls. Here's Mike. This is his moment. It's now or never to go huge. Can he find Peter? He can't. Peter stays strong, holds himself high, and the 9th on the board for Ricks.
They hold themselves high, but their economy is down low. Regardless of the fact that they won that round, they lost 3 players. They're going to be kind of awkward in the way they buy around that. They will still have the operator, but they should just about be able to get rifles, even if it isn't with all the armor. Now, I want to know if they've got the full complement of utility, because that's going to be very important, especially on what Lou has in particular, how they're going to be able to utilize that, because obviously this Fade is such a strong pick right now in what she brings to the table that I think you need it more than anything, which is why he's going on down to that Spectre potentially here. I don't think it's a bad shout.
I think he's actually going to be running with less util though, because he's brought full armor into it. I'm not too sure. We'll have to try and get on board with him and see what that is, but for now, Sejino trying to find the first, a rare miss in the operator. Is that going to be costly?
Not converting those opportunities. always hurts, always stings, especially when you're like, oh, but it could have been the chance, it could have been the opening. And Rickstack, they so sorely need something right now.
Peter has a bit of an inkling that one player might be over towards short, and he is going to be right. It's Halsey there. Pegs Zeus though with the Phantom over towards long. One-way smoke comes through. The Nightfall from Fade is going to spot him though. Will the pop flash come out of Peter and try and delay any sort of push? But here comes the flank from Halsey as well though. Out towards Garden. Halsey can go huge here. If he finds the first kill, it's vital. But speaking of kills, it's going to be Gladius who find all of them. Mike doubles his trouble as well, as the paint shells are good for one. The Vandal headshot onto Peter is good for the second. Although the res is available for the side of Rix in the hands of Rex. The life isn't though, because Halsey's there from behind. Mercedes Pete cleans up shop, and it's map point here in match number 1 in the grand finals for the side of Gladius.
They are in the business zone. This time, Gladius, they don't choke so much. They don't find themselves under the same kind of pressure. And they know Rick Static's ideas. They understand what makes them tick. And unfortunately for them, they're tick-tocking their way towards a loss here. Rick Static with very little in the way of economy. That rifle on Lou, I mean, hey, look, it could go big. They've got the Tour de Force on Sergino. I think that's the power point for me. Look, he can pop off. And as usual, at least in this game, Ricks need him to pick up this round.
They needed to find a first frag. And it's gonna, I think it's going to be a bit of a contestation towards that A long position early on. So they're going to know that he's probably lurking around middle short somewhere. Whether or not Sergino can open up the avenues for success for the side of Ricks. Pop flash comes through. Sergino holds himself strong. But guess what? That shot's going to somewhat reveal his location. So he rendezvous his way back out towards mid. And for the side of Gladius, they are just a few moments away, a few kills away from putting Rick's GG's backs very firmly against the wall here in the final.
It's going to be Pegasus. Player I think is probably going to be that first point of contact unless we see a push up from the B site here, because they've been relatively passive. Might be some quick rotates. You see the bot coming on forward. Pegasus does get to shoot it out, but it's suppressed. They know his position. The pressure from Sergino is so high. He's so aggressive, and that is giving them the chance right now.
That's the big kill onto Samo as well. I think though, if there's one player for the side of Gladius that needs to try and continue to pop off in this round, it is Mike. He has impressed me so much here in map number 1. Probably the best Valorant I've seen him play all weekend in terms of consistency here on Ascent. He's got to try and be the entry point with the Raze. Use those satchels to break line of sights. It's going to be here though. The aggression towards B. Here comes the push. Lou, first line of defense, solid so far, but Cam's there to trade back. Fantastic combination as Mike, he's there, the man that I said needs to step up for the side of Gladius, has done it so much. Halsey somehow shuts down Peter. Sergino's going to fall though. The spike's in the hand of the Omen. They get the spike down. Peg, gotta go huge. He does get the spike down as well. 2 versus 1. Peg goes huge for the side of Ricks. 10 rounds on the board, and from the depths of despair, absolutely out of nowhere, just when you think Ricks are defeated, down and out, their backs against the wall, they kick themselves right back up on into this map.
A game of seconds, a game of degrees on that peak. Barely didn't stop the spike, but it did not matter what he stopped. He still gets that spray down, still delivers, and Rick Static are still in this game. Look, the econ is still not good for another still to add towards it. And, well, Gladius, they've got a lot in the hands. I don't want to say the word still again, but this... They've got those guns. They've got a lot of ways to punch on through. Rick Static have not gotten out of the woods just yet.
Not yet, but they've done it before. Can they do it again? They have got the res available though for Rex, so that is a little bit of an advantage for them in comparison to only the From the Shadows available for Halsey on the Omen. Nightfall for Lou as well, so that retake potential just opens up a little bit more success and potential chances to convert it through to a round win. However, they can't keep leaving it for the likes of, you know, one player like Peg, for example, to clutch up in a 2 or I think it was a 3 versus 1 at one point as well. You know, you just got to coordinate the retakes a little bit better. Ricks don't die so easy. To be fair, it was a flawless play from Gladius because they invested so heavily into that garage control, and once they found the kills, all they had to do was trade on out to get onto the site, and it was fair enough, and it was GG from there on. Sergino spotted though, out towards B.
I don't think they spotted a single person off that.
That's big from Gladius though.
I'd be a little bit worried seeing Samo get spotted by that right in the middle, but Peter is that point of contact, has to back away here, has the flash, wants to go for a little pop play, but it won't find anything just yet.
Here comes the push from the side of Gladius. Rix, they've got to stand strong, and they do. Sagino once again stands there, and he stands tall. It's gonna be the 4 versus 1 now, all up to Cam, and that was so sloppy, Rook, though, from the side of Gladius. He's gonna be spotted by the Haunt, and Rix put 11 on the board.
I have to say, again, we were saying about Gladius, right? I said, oh, they're not choking this time. Oh, they're not making those mistakes that were so key to the wins that Rix were picking up before. But here they are, slip up after slip up. And Rix, they give them no quarter. They give them no chance, no dice, no nothing. As they just deliver frag after frag, standout round after standout round. In spite of the great play we've seen from Gladius, just that little inch. And Rix, they take them out.
Do you know what I love? I love how, right, we've seen this game go back and forth, flip-floppy. We've seen teams go 4 rounds down, and the first time out in the game comes in the last round of regular time.
I mean, we haven't just seen this game go back and forth like this. We saw last series do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
It feels like a repeat, and I'm absolutely down for it because we got such fantastic rounds out of that one and great Valorant as well. You guys are lucky back at home to get this one in your eyeballs. What a fitting way, honestly, for a Beacon qualifier to go.
And what a fitting way for this first map in the final to go as well. You know, it's a complete mirror matchup of what we saw yesterday in that upper final, and that's why I said, you know, look, I'm not encouraging throwing games here by any means, but I was like, please just somehow let Gladius and Rix play again in the final. I think it will be the best matchup on paper, and it'll be the best matchup in terms of actual gameplay, and to make a spectacle for not only ourselves to watch and cast, but the amazing viewers at home as well. Which, of course, this event wouldn't be possible without you guys at home as well, and some of the upcoming amazing North European, you know, players and industry people within the chat watching at home. We see all you. I know the chat's full of all these players, friends, and other various competitors from across the globe watching. But last round here, though, for the sides in regular time at least. Rix trying to force the overtime. Sagino trying to force the upper hand. Does get spotted, but Samo, he gets legged with the operator. It's going to be 20 HP on him.
Is indeed Samo. Spotted out, but there's no Odin to wallbang him like we've been seeing from Gladius here. Instead, Sagino trying to hold down that angle, trying to spam through the smoke with the operator even, as Rex is very worried that Hornets give away their position, but no one can punish them just yet. So much utility invested here, but to no avail.
No avail just yet, at least anyway. For now, Rix hold strong. A bit of rotation going over towards the middle of the map, but they're just going to be met with the operator of Sagino. How many times have we just really seen him lock down this big lane of the map on his own? Samo, oh my god, gets turned and burned on. If there's one player you want to hold your nerve there for the side of Gladius, it would have been Samo. Lou, huge first frag.
Oh my lord, I can't believe he didn't get one. I mean, honestly, I thought he was going to get 2 in that position. They did not check for him, and he almost managed to deliver. But look at this, they commit towards it. There's the showstopper, knows that if they get tags on those 2 players, they're likely going to be dead. But the heal has come on in. It's been a little bit too much. A teleport means that showstopper's nothing.
It's going to be Lou, though, trying to stand strong for the side of Rix, and it's a 3 versus 3. Mike finds a couple of his own as well. Spike goes down in the hands of Halsey. Map number 1 on the line here for the side of Rix Gladius. They just got to try and hold themselves together and get over that stumbling block that they seem to fall over every single time against these top competition players. But guess what? 0 point does go out. That's going to be Peter revealing the location of at least 2 players for the side of Gladius on this A site. Mike is going to go huge once again. Pegged there with the Bulldog. We saw him do it a couple rounds ago. Can he pull off a show-stopping performance here to try and keep his team in the game? There's not a lot of time left here, Rook. They've got to go. Rix have got to try and do something. Sagino goes huge. Peg there once again. Have they got the time? They do. Guess what? I'm getting my phone. I'm checking my watch because there's only one time that it is, Rook, and that's overtime.
Lord, oh Lord, I cannot believe that Rickstack have done that yet again. I mean, this time it's the other way around. Gladius did it last time on this map. This time, Ricks are the ones dragging themselves across the finish line right now. But the question is, who's going to pick it up? I have no idea. These guys seem so strong. Gladius looked like they had that one on lock, man. They had everything they needed. I was worrying because how on earth was Sagino going to push him with the operator? He picks up the rifle and he does the dirty work.
And do you know what? It was actually a great spot that, I'm not sure who it was last alive. It might have been Cam, right, who was last alive behind the Radionite box, maybe. both players, Sigino and Peg, actually lined up headshot angle for them, but I think the body shot landed onto Peg, and that Bulldog, listen.
That's the second time that's happened as well.
Exactly, it was a mirror matchup of the last clutch
Yeah,
up that happened literally about 4 rounds ago, so... Oh, Peg goes huge, the beautiful man that he is. Best man bun in esports, honestly.
He's sexy.
Beautiful man, very, very good looking human. But we'll leave the compliments to his Valorant gameplay for now, before we get carried away with ourselves here, Rook. It's still early on a Sunday morning. But either way, for the side of Ricks, I don't know what is it about this team, Rook. They just don't go away.
They just don't. They keep on coming. We were talking about the tenacity, and the fact that they've managed to deliver is so darn good, and it shows again in their mental that they just keep on going, and that stability is a core part of what makes them them. Even though the frags weren't necessarily coming from a lot of the other players, Sagina was still delivering, and the rest of the team, they were just ramping up, one might say. And well, Rickstack, now that they've started to find that perfect spot, maybe they can confirm out here. Cam gets that first headshot. It was a nice little dink there to kick things off. Looks like Rickstack might still push that. That's such a fantastic knife. 3 players spotted.
Yeah, instant rotation coming through from the side of Gladius as well. Ricks, they've got to get out, and they've got to go quick here if they want to try and execute this B site. It's completely uncontested for them, but they don't know that. Lou storming his way in towards Market. Samo Lono down to 31 HP. I would love to see Lou try and find a frag here out towards CT or Market. Go straight through the smoke. Try and find yourself a pick if you can. And that's absolutely huge. Lou gets spotted by the boombot. Doesn't matter. He swings. Can't find any though because Housy's there with the Phantom to find the shots through the wall onto the head of the Fade. And now Ricks, their backs are against the wall. They're not the ones with the numbers on the retake. It's the side of Gladius, but Rex somehow with a sliver of HP and hope finds the frag on to Samo. Numbers advantage though, very much still in favour of Gladius. I love this angle that Rex is holding. Those spots, the head of one, can't find the second. Mercedes peak is there. It's all up to Peter trying to duck and dodge his way. All he's got to do is play time. 20 HP and a dream. Mercedes finds the kill. Enough time, I think, as well to scrape through the defuse, and Gladius, they get the first round onto overtime and might just have, I don't want to say a foot or a hand into map number 2, maybe a toenail or 2 though.
Okay, but the problem is when you've got your hand in the door, it might get slammed on it. And with the way that Rickstack have been playing, I really wouldn't count that out from happening. It would be a rude awakening for Gladius when they felt so comfortable. They looked so good. Mike has stepped up like I asked. Mercedes Peak has continued to deliver. And you can see the rest of the team also just swinging for the fences. I am so happy with how we've seen Gladius play so far. They deserve this map, man. I want to see him take it. I want us to go with full 3 maps, though. That's the thing.
I want them to take this map because I think Ricks will probably take the bind. That's just my logic. To be fair though, Ricks have not looked that great on bind. They've looked a little bit cagey at times. They have looked vulnerable. I mean, whether or not though Gladius can try and pounce, they can though. It's Samo to find the first fast-paced, aggressive execute comes through. Peg's going to pick up the kill onto Mike. Mercedes answers straight back with a kill on his own. So numbers advantage here in a very positive round for the side of Gladius. It doesn't matter though because that numbers advantage stays strong after a trade for traders. Peter and Cam both going to pick up a kill as well. That spike should go down.
Should indeed. They're starting to move on through. There's a player waiting just nearby. Loose invests that utility, but still worried about the flank. They know it's potentially coming. Samo hops on up. They're watching for him.
Samo gotta go huge. The flash actually doesn't help him out. It actually ruins him as Rex is gonna find the kill. Not a lot of time to work with here though. Rook, they've got to get a move on to the duo of Rix. Lou gonna try and lead the line. Surely they expect someone to be underneath Hell. There's the info. There's the jump across from Rex. Lou left alive. Mercedes finds the kill. And just like that, we see the side of Gladius go absolutely huge on Ascent. And from out of nowhere, Rix, that's what we said. How many times can they keep going huge and clutching up in these kind of situations? There's going to be a time where they can't do it. And will it come back to bite them? And the answer is yes. Yes, it did.
Unsustainable. I think that's the one word of how they were playing that game. I mean, you look, the man at the top, the man of the hour is always Sagino, I feel, every time you watch Rix. But the rest of the team could not keep pace. And it wasn't like they were playing too bad, but when you got the likes of the individual players on the side of Gladius, like Mike, like Simon, like Mercedes Peak, and like Calm and Halsey, you've got to be able to deliver just that little bit more. Or be really, really clean on your team play, which we saw at times. And we saw some great stand-up moments, but it wasn't enough to try and replicate them every single time. Going on forward, I think Bind is going to be such an interesting one because that's a very strat-heavy map, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, well, speaking of Bind, you can see the vetoes up here. Coming up next is going to be Bind. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short but shot, break. Because when we come back, these two warriors, they're going to go back swinging pound for pound, blow for blow once again here. But this time in a bit more of a sunnier environment. We'll be back for Bind in a few seconds. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to EPIC36. The penultimate stop, of course, on the official Beacon circuit for the initial phase of play. And we've seen, you're probably wondering why I'm not having a hyped intro. That's because all my energy has been zapped out of me after what was one of the, I don't want to say an unusually ridiculous map, because when these two teams play, it just always seems to be that crazy. But Gladius clutching up against Rich GG. If you've just joined us, we're here in the grand finals for the VALORANT event, like I mentioned, myself, John P, and Rook. And we have just seen a bit of a bonkers map number 1 on Ascent again.
Oh Lord, have we? It's not a surprise given what it was like last time, but yet again they delivered. But this time it was Gladius who picked it up, and we didn't go too far into overtime, not the 16-14 like we had last time. This time it was just that 14-12, so all good. And honestly, I'm glad it didn't go too long, but I hope we do get a couple of extra maps. This Bind one is certainly going to be very interesting, and I think you had some opinions about it, because, I mean, Rix did look very good here, right?
They looked good, but I feel like you know, the saying that comes to mind when we talk about Rix on any map is they look good, however, they've also got mistakes in them on that map. And we saw it there, of course, on Ascent as well. Now, look, let's not take anything away from Gladius. They sometimes force Rix into making those mistakes by sort of the pressure that they put on them in the map and the way that they play in the setups and the play style that the side of Gladius sort of operate on. However, the side of Rix, I mean, how many times did we see? I think we saw Peg clutch 2 1v3s. We saw Lou clutch a 1v2. We saw Sagino go huge. At one point on Rix, one person had to step up every single time. However, for Gladius, it looked like it was a lot more well-rounded. And I've got to say, credit where credit is due. Mike had a huge game for the side of Gladius on that raise.
I'm so glad he did, honestly. I was saying, I think in like some other pre-show stuff, that I really wanted to see Mike step up. I wanted to have him pop, and I think he did just that, so that's great to see. And I think Rix, I mean, they need to maybe ditch the static name. I think they need to adapt to what's coming their way, because honestly, if they don't, I think Gladius really will start to sock it to them. And you can't have as many holes in your game as you do, and expect to just win them all, in spite of the fact that you are a very steady team, that you do have that clutch factor, and they seem to be shaken by absolutely nothing. But you don't want to be in a position where you're always getting shook all the time. Yeah. But that's just like, you should be more consistent in picking up those rounds, and especially, again, for a team that we have really high expectations of. Rix should be a team who are first seed and are looking to really strive towards the very top of this Beacon region. And right now they're struggling sometimes against GDS in ways that we wouldn't expect them to.
Yeah, I mean, but look, like, again, let's not take anything away from Gladius, right?
Oh,
like,
no.
They've played fantastically well all weekend long. I'd probably say they've probably looked the most consistent team as well all weekend long.
True.
I mean, in terms of overall gameplay, I'm thinking back to when we first saw them on day number 1, the best of 1 that I think they played against Tabula Rasa. Even then, it was a very well-rounded, sought-out team performance. Okay, yeah, I think Mercedes Peak had a very good game, but at the same time, you look to the likes of Samo was playing very well on that chamber. You look at Mike, you know, although he wasn't fragging heavy, he was creating so much space and getting so much area control on map out towards A long. How's he doing his job on the controller row, and Cam filling in the blanks and the gaps on the map with the KO. So, you know, this is a very well drilled, well practiced team on the side of Gladius, and there's a reason why these players want to try and stick together, and they want to try and work together to find themselves a team going into sort of the next splits and the next sort of stage of the season, of the VALORANT season, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also just like a sucker for role players, people who really understand what they need to bring to a team, and it feels like Gladius has so many of them. So I think that's why I rate loads of these players so darn highly, and whether they stay together, whether they join another team, like you said, I think they'll be fantastic additions to whatever happens. Though I would like to see them stay together, especially if they can kind of achieve the heights they're looking at right now, and maybe even go a bit beyond. But obviously that depends on what they're able to do in the server and outside the server in other tournaments as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. I think, I mean, on the flip side, though, for Rix, if they don't win this event, this is going to be a big confidence killer for them. I think
a lot of questions.
They probably, you know, there might be a few things asked about the team in terms of whether individuals want to try and something new, if they want to stick together as a team, because this, you come into this, we was like, okay, this is Rix's chance to grab 200 beacon points and put themselves right back up into the mixer alongside the likes of Unsigned, Only Fins, and AW3, of course. But any team that wins this event, now Gladius as well, I think they were sitting at, what, like 50, 45 odd beacon points. They win this and they're jumping straight up into size of sort of like the top 5, top 6 as well. So, you know, I think that for both teams, this is a very, very vital 200 beacon points on the line for them. Of course, you know, they do grab themselves 150 regardless. I think if they finish in second, so either way, the teams are going to be moving themselves up the standings. And not only that, they want a nice cool chunk of that $2,000 prize pool as well.
Yeah, certainly wouldn't hurt to have. And I think the important thing is being able to make sure that you get those beacon points in before, for example, Guild later on, the Guild event.
Yep,
so that because that's going to not only be full of, you know, strong teams that come to LAN, but strong teams that can play online and take part in anything. So you might have the likes of OnlyFins and AW3, right? And Kamek, who have been looking fantastic, and are certainly ones you got to keep an eye on. You know, I've been really impressed with the Nordic scene, and I think in particular, I'm a big OnlyFins fan. I got to see them in the qualifiers for Polaris, and that was really, really fun to watch. Nixie is such a fantastic player.
Yeah, and you know, that's why it doesn't really shock me that those top 4, top 3 are kind of locked in at the moment in terms of what we expect. You know, some of those players that are playing in Beacon, they've been a part of VRL, for example. They played in higher levels of competition, so it's always going to be hard for these new upcoming teams to try and break into sort of that high level of standing. But hey, listen, it's doable. I think Gladius are a team that have definitely got the, you know, the will factor and the oomph about them to try and do that. But we are going to be now heading over towards Bind. Bind's a map that is, you know, it's a bit of a 50-50 curveball in my opinion, even though it's quite a standard map to play. The sites for the attackers, sometimes they can be hard to break onto and execute. However, once you get the site for the defenders, especially that B site, for example, retaking is a very, very hard and daunting task to do. Yeah,
especially depending on the composition you're running, whether there's that Sage to help lock it up. Obviously, there were some changes, so that's not too oppressive now, but you still got things like the Brimstone with the lineups with so much that's really able to deny you. You don't even have to actually control the site necessarily to even play around it. So that's another very important part that you got to keep your eyes on. I really like the fact as well that we're seeing people play around with lots of different agents. We were talking about the Neon before. We're seeing a lot of different stuff as well. We're seeing people run the Breach and the Sky. It feels like it's much more open at the very least.
Yeah. It's I mean, you could say, you know, making the point about it being open, I think you can say like this whole event in general has been quite open, right?
Yep,
There's been the likes of Temperate, for example, not even making it into losers finals, and you see the likes of CSGG come out of nowhere, and they looked very, very good at one point, and they didn't even make it into losers finals. So that's what these LAN events are about. You know, they're just paving the path, paving the way for the next level of competition to come through, and try and, you know, somewhat start to make a name for themselves here in Valorant.
Yeah, I think that's such an important thing. I was literally sat downstairs later last night when we just about finished all the broadcasts because I was on observing for that final game. And I was just chatting with players, and they were saying, man, this is such a great chance for me to really get out there as well. I want to try playing with some different teams, getting different experiences. And I think the fact that we just have so many tournaments that mean something and have people really trying their best for it makes such a big difference, because then you get great experience versus great teams.
Yeah, and I think that's what that's what sometimes you have to do as a player as well. Is okay, you come to a LAN event. Now look, I never encourage people sort of changing after one event and you know, starting something fresh after one single event. Unless you're playing in a bit of a mix and things aren't going too well, you know, coming to LAN, getting experience, talking to teams, you know, putting yourself out there, marketing yourself to say like, oh, you guys could be looking for one after this event. You know, don't try and say backstab people, but like worm your way into potentially a team and put your name on sort of that pillar for success. But, you know, I mean, there's many more events that are going to come up. There's many more opportunities that these players will get throughout. I mean, look, we're only like, what, into the 2nd or 3rd year of Valorant now, I think it is. So we're still very, very young. We're a baby esport still. You could say that in terms of, well, we're just fortunate that this game's been hit the global success that it has. So these players, there's still a long time left for them to try and sort of solidify their careers, you could say.
Yeah, there really is, and again, the fact that you've actually got kind of this grassroots level stuff, and kind of, well, not necessarily grassroots, but like very low level stuff, kind of for the community, is so big for setting up that kind of base level and getting people those chances to do anything. Because without it, sometimes you're stuck and you're like, okay, so I didn't make VRL, what do? I sit around, I
Yeah.
do nothing. And it's great that Riot has seen that and gone, okay, well, let's actually help out these other organizations and focus on that as well. And also it helps us, get chances for casters to kind of get some gigs in, to attend really fun events. This has been absolutely fantastic so far, and we've had some wonderful co-casters with us. Obviously, some of the CS guys popping on for some broadcasts, and everybody just kind of having a really good time. That's what I love about Epic Land in particular.
I think you make a good point about the sort of like the grassroots tournaments and stuff like that. One thing I would say, if I had any criticism with Valorant, is the fact that I want us to see have more events across regions, the likes of
That would be very cool.
that like League of Legends do, for example, and Riot do for League of Legends. There is about 15 different major organizers within League of Legends that have a tournament running nearly every single day. And I mean, look, I don't doubt Riot are one of the best game companies and developers out there in terms of running events and knowing what they want from a game. So I have no doubt at all that they're going to do that in the future. But I think Valorant's at that stage right now where there's a lot of hype catching fire and a lot of players hungry to become professional and hungry to play as much competition and win as much money as they can and make a name for themselves. That we still need a few more extra of those tournaments.
To feed the fire.
Yeah, we need to feed the fire, exactly. You need to add sort of, add wood to the fire, like you mentioned, and just try and continue to give these players more to play for, more to play against, more to play with, and just really continue to encourage that level of competition.
Yeah. Also, shout out to all the orgs who have been picking up teams, really teaching them, and teams which aren't necessarily full of relatively established players. Like, shout out to CSGG as well for picking up not only a really strong squad that have managed to deliver quite a lot at this tournament, but also having an academy squad to actually train them up and give them chances. That's something I really like to see, because it means they're really devoted towards actually helping our team and actually helping those players grow and watching them grow. I mean, as a caster, I'm a sucker for a good story, and seeing someone come from that first LAN where maybe they do quite well and they don't quite get exactly what they want. For example, a player like Pate on Cognizant, young kid came over from the Netherlands for this tournament, 16, doesn't really know too many people here other than his team, and just came on, and he's been farming people all day long. Love him on that Neon, and definitely excited to be able to see what they're able to deliver going on forward. And Cognizant and the guys, they've been so supportive of him, and it just shows again the camaraderie that we have in this scene.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, the scene in general is just thriving at the moment with all this competition that we're having in play. I mean, in particular, these two teams, right? I mean, you think of, like, if I was to say to you, like, name me a UK organization that's heavily focused within Valorant, you'd probably go to two teams in particular, right? I mean, and that would be Rix and Tenstar, right? In terms of, like, two instant thoughts that would come to your mind. And obviously, you've got the likes of Excel, etc., of course, but they're bigger name brands, with no disrespect to Rix and Tenstar. So, the fact that these names like Rix, for example, are still working their way strong and trying to build a squad is fantastic. But speaking of working away, let's get back to work indeed, as we're going to head on into map number 2 of Bind. What are we expecting to see agent-wise here, and the way that these teams are going to probably start to set up?
Well, unfortunately, most of that's been answered for me already, as you finished that then sentence. Again, we're going to see Halsey lock in that Brimstone to finish off our compliment. And Mercedes Peak, he can hover the Yoru all he wants. He's playing Fade. We've got double Fade. We've got not double Raze, because Rex is over on that Neon. They've played this here before, and honestly, the dynamic play from Rex is fantastic to see. He is one hell of an entry fragger, and he promised you earlier that he was going to run down mid and absolutely tap some kids, I believe was what he said. And
yes.
I'm looking forward to that. Absolutely.
It would not surprise me. It would not surprise me at all. Honestly, right? I think we just get Mercedes Peak locked in on the Yoru, if you ask me, just for the memes.
It would be spicy.
I think we might actually have a bit of an issue with the two teams in the game. We will have to lock and load and restart the lobby for you. We do apologise about that, but that gives us a few extra seconds to have a chat here, Rook, about the style of play and what we expect usually to see from Bind. I think a good talking point is the difference in the Breach to the Sky for the two teams as well. Yourself, are you a Sky or are you a Breach kind of guy?
I'm a Sky gamer. I love the fact that she can get a lot more information for their team, and I think that's a big part of it. Obviously, the healing is there, but it's not the reason you're picking Sky, right? You're not playing Sky because you can heal your teammates. You're playing Sky because you want to know whether that flash has hit someone, and then from there, play off the back of with that information, use the Trailblazer effectively as well, and just get so much vision on the site that you can then go for the execute. But it does require you to play around it a little bit more in that way, whereas Breach, you can kind of fire and forget. He's relatively quick on his pushes, whereas Sky, you have to send out the bird has to flap its way on into the actual site, and then you can go for your push. So it does give opportunities for fast-paced players to really do something about it, and I think it'll be interesting to see whether Rex is able to kind of do something with that.
Yeah, and I think that Neon suits Rex's style of play a little bit as well. We sort of made a point that it's a little bit strange to see a fast-paced, aggressive player like Rex, for example, when we associate him with the Neon on Bind, play Sage on Ascent, for example. But you made the analogy. I mean, listen, I didn't make the analogy. Rook was the one who compared the two and said they're just as good as each other. You made the analogy of, like, for example, Scream, right, on Liquid, who used to be a duelist main and now has then switched to the Sage for a time.
Yeah, more that obviously you can play these characters and be a great aimer. You just have to kind of change that mindset.
No,
and Scream did that really well, and he understood that you can play that slower style, and at the same time you still have to be able to access that kind of aggression at times. And I mean, I've seen these Sage players, especially in my ranked games. They're off on one. Sometimes they jump up on that wall, they go crazy. Rex is not the kind of player to do that, and honestly, that's a big surprise to me because I feel like it would fit him quite well. But at the same time, if he's fragging out like he is, I don't mind what he's doing. The problem for me is it wasn't quite enough over on that Ascent, so I'm really looking forward to seeing swap over into that Neo, deliver a little bit more, create that space for their team, because I think that was something they were a little bit lacking. Even though Sagina was able to find those frags, they didn't really have the space for anyone to play up and get aggressive and take something off the back of those kills.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if they can rectify the mistakes that they've made in times gone past, but we are getting the players back into the lobby. No, for anyone that's in the Twitch chat, you don't get baited by anyone that the players have not forfeited the map. It is just the fact that we had a lobby restart because we started the game too early. That's what happens when you ask casters to start the game, alright? We get things wrong. It's not our fault. We're just the pretty faces, at least I think we're a pretty face, and an annoying voice behind the camera for the majority of the time. We don't have no technical experience about us. I can barely navigate the menu on Riot Client, let alone... I mean,
there are so many different things, right? Unrated, competitive, Spike Rush, Deathmatch, Replication,
it's a lot for that. Is
Pearl, custom game.
That's a lot for a caster to manage.
That is?
Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know
like,
that many words.
Honestly, I can, yeah, literally, like, what even is a Vandal? Like, I don't even know what it is. Like, what rank are you in Valorant?
Let's not talk about that.
Oh, have I hit you on the spot there?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I've been busy the last few weeks, so I also haven't got any ranked, and that's my excuse.
I actually don't have a rank in this act because I haven't played, because I've been casting, I've been working so much. But I think last act I peaked Diamond 3.
Yeah, you're higher than me, and that's
I was
what
a bot, though. I'm a diamond bot. But we are going to head back into the game. The insta-locks will come straight through, no doubt, because we are going to get things locked and loaded. Unless Mercedes peak is just going to make us wait all the way down to the last. And no, he's not, of course, he's not. Let's go straight back into the game we go. Obvious talking points, I think here, like we mentioned, the Breach versus the Sky, the Raze versus the Neon, of course, two very different style of plays. We've got mirror matchups with Halsey and Peter on, Halsey and Peg, sorry, on the Brim. Sigino Samo, no shock there that they're taking the chamber.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited to see that one. It's fantastic on this map, so should be able to lock down. Obviously, the rotates are brilliant. Should be a big part, honestly, of how this map kind of plays in the defense, because otherwise you kind of get played around a lot. You need to be able to rotate relatively quickly, and you don't always want to have to rotate through the teleporters, because that can really expose you to some pretty brutal beatings if the opposing team is watching for it. And I think we saw that as well with Mike on that raid. He got some really good nades in before, and certainly would look to see that again here. But I think the important thing here is I actually really like the Neon. I think Rex is fantastic on this. I think it provides so much. That concussion that she can throw on out is so good, coupled with the fact that you can kind of use it to just give yourself that little bit of time in order to jump up on people and spray them down.
Yeah, and it's something that we see Rex do. I mean, when he's not ended up stunning himself. I think we saw him do it about 4 times the other day. But either way, here we go. Back into map number 2 here, ladies and gentlemen, for the grand final at Epic. And Rex, he said he was going to fly out and find the Empen and pick. He doesn't. He does get picked off first. Samo there, though, with the header to trade things back out after Sagino answers back for one of his own. There's going to be numbers advantage here for the side of Gladius on the attacking half as they go over towards that A side.
Sagino only has 1 bullet left as well in that Headhunter, so he's not going to be able to get too much out of that one. As you see all those smokes come on down, they're looking for a chance to plant. 2 players going to have to rotate over relatively quickly from Rix here if they're looking to try and stop this one. Sagino maybe trying to find a little bit of a different angle as the rest of their team starts to move on in from behind. But look at those pings. You can see that Gladius is 100% ready for it. They're all piled into the same one. They're getting a little bit of a hug going.
A little bit of a Penguin cuddle, nothing wrong with that every now and then, but Mike gonna find the first. It's gonna be Peg who falls. Lou there to trade it back out, though. Sagino, 1 bullet, 1 HP, more than a dream. Stuff of nightmares for him, as Mike's gonna double his luck and find his second of the round. And Lou has been revealed. And just like that, Gladius open with the first round once again here.
Yeah, relatively easy round for them. You know what? I get the feeling they were a little bit prepared for exactly that from the Neon. It's not like Rex hasn't been doing it consistently. This time, I will say, however, that Sergino came to back him up, and I actually like the fact that they tried to alter it around to catch their opponents off guard that little bit more. So I'm glad that they're at least trying something different, even if it didn't quite work out the way they wanted it to. But now they're going to have to play up against those Spectres, which is really not what they wanted to be. But if they can get some good damage in, it's all good.
To be fair, on a map like Bind, you know, that close quarter right click from the Classic can be very, very brutal, to say at the least. I think we are going to see Rex try and get a bit of control with Peter over towards bathrooms. Rex comes through. I mentioned the right click, can't find any damage. He does get out with his life, though, however, so... Oh, look at that big flank, though, from the side of Rix. That's a huge flank. Out of 3 players here, they're going to swing their way back round and try and pinch them in, but they've been spotted.
Yeah, they heard that one so free there for Gladius. If they'd done a little bit more shift walking, maybe they would have found it, but Rex tries to pounce on the opportunity, but it doesn't happen. Samo just domes after domes after domes. Pegasus tries to look for his chance too, but a flawless round here for Gladius, and what more could they ask for? That was so heads up, and it looks like they understand what makes Rex kind of work, at least in the earlier rounds here on Bind, which is good. It shows that they've been doing their research, because Riggs have played this on stream.
The issue is, though, is we saw Gladius win 3 rounds off the back the last map, and then we saw Riggs answer back with 6 of their own.
We did do that.
So let's not get too carried away just yet, Rook, right? Let's buckle up, strap ourselves in, because this is going to be a roller coaster of emotions, I still feel. But you're looking at Mike 4-0, Samo 3-0 for him. Good starts once again for those two here in map number 2.
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of going for that slower play. This is what Ricks do when they have the rifles. They don't need to make any of these kind of gambly plays, which I'm glad to see them not doing anymore because, I mean, as I said, Gladius did their homework. They're ready for the cheeky stuff that they're going to throw at them.
Well, sometimes you do have to gamble a little bit. Sometimes, unfortunately, the hand that is dealt to you isn't the one that you was necessarily looking out for in the first place. So, for the side of Gladius, you've got already nothing to lose here in this round. It should be a bit of a throwaway round. They have got the Spectres, can make it, and it can be made to work here. Probably going to look to try and walk their way over towards that B site, the triple stack over towards A from the side of Rix. Has cottoned onto that early aggression out towards that spike site. And here comes the side of Gladius here.
And indeed, 2 players sitting back site here could be able to deal with the problem. They both got access to those rifles. A little bit of intro. That flash doesn't hit quite as they want to, and Lou still gets caught.
Here's going to be Mike who finds the first, can't find the second because Samo's there to help him out. Sergino, that's not the flick of the wrist that you want, my friend. Why are you flicking your butterfly knife out while walking into elbow? It's going to be the kills from Halsey. Samo there to trade things back out. All up to Pete, a bonus round win once again for the side of Gladius.
And not just like a barely bonus round win. That was a bonus round win. They took so much away from... They're going to pick up all those rifles, and they're going to be sitting pretty. Their econ is looking so amazing now, and Ricks definitely have to be kicking themselves off that one. But I will note, yet again, we saw the exact same thing come out of Gladius before. They did subsequently lose the next round and drop all of their weapons and give everything away to Ricks. So, don't count your chickens before they're hatched, but Gladius should be in a good position. They're very close to multiple ultimates, be the showstopper, the tour de force, and other things. So they have a lot to work with. Let's just see them do that work.
A lot to work with indeed. Can they get the job done though? Sergino can as Mike falls, but Cam's there to instantly trade it back out. Mercedes peak. Gonna be just vibing out towards market. Just waiting, hanging around, seeing if anyone's gonna be flanking after that aggression from the round before, but Cam lining them up, and one by one they all fall down. The corners.
They didn't check their corners.
Yeah.
Oh!
Rex, that is going to be costly, to say the least. The Samo falls traded back out. 4 on the board for him.
I mean, Cam has just been popping today, honestly. I'm so surprised he managed to find that that last one there. And I'm so here for it, right? To have more players of Gladius dishing out those frags is exactly the kind of look we need to see from them to take down Rick Static. And right now, they're on a bit of a hot streak. Let's see if Rick Static can douse that in the rounds to come. Right now, I don't think it's going to be likely that Lou will climb this one at all as the shots go on through. And that's an ace for Cam. Not even on the duelist, just delivering raw frags.
Yeah, that's going to be the ult online for him as well. The Seeker's come out. Nearly proved costly, though, without checking the
very
the close left corner. It could have gone from bad to worse for the side of Gladius, but it's gone from bad to worse for the side of Rix. As 4-2 go on the board, and 0-4 from Peg, 0-4 from Peter. It's just not looked great so far for the side of Rix. And how, you know, we spoke about yesterday how it looked like after that overtime loss, Gladius was deflated going into Haven, and that's why they lost 39. Is the same thing happening here, but this time it's Rix on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's always something you got to keep in mind, but also we've seen these teams both play that exact same scenario again and again, so I'd be surprised if they feel too hard done by. I think it's just that Gladius have really stepped up to the mark here and stepping up with the rocket launcher. Here goes Mike.
Just gonna pop that showstopper. It just forces the players back ever so slightly, allows them to open up a bit more wiggle room over towards that A site, but Rex is there to shut down Halsey in his face, and just like that, Rex doesn't manage to fall because Peter's there to swing off the contact of Cam, but Mike, double trouble once again on the raise, finds 2, as it is all up to Pegasus and Lou for the side of Rick Static. Are they going to try and set a bluff here, though, Gladius, and fake that rotation out?
I think it's actually a really, really good call to go for the slow play here, because they definitely think there's a rotate. But Pegasus is kind of looking at this one and going, okay, I could TP here. He's actually starting to march on out of the site. That smoke will give away a lot of position. He's still there, however, on the site, but it's a 2 versus 1. They could make their play very quickly. Mike has to be very wary in checking these corners. They want to play for the longer angles. They've got access to that tour de force, I believe, if they want it.
Oh, I love the fact that they were so patient on the plant as well, and Mike going to find the triple. Now going to look for the quadra as well. They'll hear the TP maybe. Yes, they do. Of course, they were just in range for the sound cue. And the fact that they're both playing so close together is exactly what I want. Just make sure they don't line up for the 2K. That's all you've got to make sure that happens. And this should be Gladius starting off 5-0 here against Rix, unless Lou can pull off any heroics. Finds the first, can't snap onto the second. Tour de force from Samo comes into play. 5 on the bounce here for Gladius, and Rix, they look absolutely shell-shocked.
Honestly, I am very happy for Gladius that didn't turn into a double spray down. That easily could have happened. But Rix, I completely agree. They look dumbfounded by what's going on. Gladius seem to have their number, and look at that economy yet again for Gladius. They've lost so little. They've got ultimates coming up. Their orbital strike is 1 off here for Halsey. And they're already trying to generate second chances at the showstopper and other such pieces of utility here. It's Gladius again, playing a slightly slower start. They're happy to do this here, and Rix look a lot less comfortable. Here is the tour de force on the defensive side, but that's basically their only point of power.
5 ults, like you mentioned, available for Rix, but not a lot of weaponry to work with in terms of gun count. The overdrive going to be invested, though, from Rex. TP's come through. Mike lies in wait, finds 1. Another triple potentially for Mike. The double will do, though, as Lou down to 5 HP. The spike site of B is completely uncontested. They'll waltz their way over, put the spike down completely uncontested and free of charge. And for the side of Rix, we've seen them claw themselves back from 7-0 down before, and it looks like they're going to have to at least claw themselves down from 6-0 here.
We will indeed. It's looking like a bad deficit for themselves, but Samo keeps themselves at range. So Gino starting to line up here. He's got to be the player, I feel, to step up. There's 1 rifle in the rest of these hands, but those healths do not look the best all the time. They've got a lot of ultimates to use, but they don't quite use them just yet. So Gino steps, and he dies.
Samo
1 enemy remaining.
Gonna find the first Peter trades back, but Mercedes Peak is there, and with Lou once again just having the sheriff in his hand. Tries to play for an exit, surely. Finds 1, finds 2, 3 for the round. Isn't bad, to say the least. We'll take the Vandal through into the next round as well. But guess what? The numbers are on the board in terms of round count, it's 6. Mercedes actually takes the gun out of his hand either way. And Rix, they have got a gargantuan task on their hands here.
They really do. Even with that double headshot, still couldn't convert it into anything. That's brutal for them. They still have access to 3 of 5 ultimates. They blew 2 in that round and still couldn't make it happen. Some decent econ damage would be helpful, if not for the fact that there were 6 rounds in a row for Gladius. They've got all the money in the world. They do not care, and they've almost got access to 3 ultimates again.
It's just hard to make a case really for Rix at the moment. Like, even, you know, usually in the comebacks that they do, the rounds that they've lost to be 6 or 7 down, they've looked somewhat convincing, and it's been like 1v1s that they've lost. So, but here it's been so easy for the sides of Gladius really to just pick up these rounds. And okay, look, we mentioned Rix there. They're pretty decent on bind. They're not amazing from what we've seen. There's definitely vulnerabilities there, and it seems like the side of Gladius are just picking up on every single one of them.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about it. I thought it was going to be a good chance for them, but, well, Gladius, they actually managed to lose that first player. Rex was on top of things. Here's the rocket fuse, going to chuck it in there. We'll be able to deal with Rex. So they have traded it back, but a good bit of damage as well, and even take down Peter.
It's going to be up to Sagino. How many times has he gone huge for the squad? He does drop the spike carrier though, but it doesn't matter because that TP is going to come through. Peg lying in wait, can't shut down Mike though. 2 versus 2. Cam can go huge. Has the head been spotted? It has. Pop flash surely comes through. Is going to connect, but unfortunately Sagino ducks his way out of trouble. And the rotations actually come back here from Mike over towards the A site. I think if he gets info that Lou's here, he might just TP his way out. Mike got to go huge for the squad. Sagino low. Sagino killed. Has he located Lou though over towards the top of heaven? Probably going to hear him fall. He's not spotted him. He has now. Lou whiffs the shots. Mike does too. Lou finds the kill first for Rix.
Oh man, and it has to come to that. A couple of whiffed ultimates from Gladius in terms of that orbital bombardment. Sure, it got people like U-Haul and some amazing gunplay from Rix to win out those duels. But that's what it took to get 1 round on the board. They have to be so darn happy with the fact they've got it, but I mean, it took so much. You've got to really kind of reset yourself here and go, okay, we got 1, now we can just get more. They've got the econ back in hand. Peter's going to be able to buy up the rifle as well, and they have a lot to work with. They still have access to those 2 tournaments, and I think the Rolling Thunder is the one that I'm really keeping an eye on for Peter here.
Yeah, I think if Peter can go huge on the Rolling Thunder and try and push them back off the site or upon entry or even on the retake, you know, this is at a costly point here for Gladius where their economy wouldn't be too great after the end of this round, even though they've won 6, but the same applies for Rix, though. If they're going to win this, they can't afford to lose too much weaponry at the same time. Rolling Thunder, like you mentioned, Nightfall available for the fade of Lou as well. Speaking of Nightfalls, you've got one on Mercedes Peak, but unfortunately Samo is going to fall. Numbers advantage for the side of Rick Static.
Some low health on Rick Static though, so it could be easy pickings if Gladius managed to get in. It feels like Rick Static is starting to find that footing, and as we said before, do not count them out. They can definitely bring us back to 6-6 in the half, especially on defense here on bind. It can be very, very strong at times, especially when you've got consistent players like we're looking at right now.
Halsey was in a great spot towards the bottom of the fountain, now towards the end of B long. However, was spotted by the Haunt, so has to relocate himself. And now the engagements come through from the side of Gladius. Peter gonna be hit down to 1 HP off that decay and stay there as well because he's still low. But Rex gonna shut down Mike, the key entry point and probably the player of the final so far. But Cam, the pop flash lines up too. That's good for him as they're gonna now find themselves in a 3 versus 3. The Nightfall is gonna be popped. Information found. Peg, can he find any? He can't because Halsey's there. Now all of a sudden, Rick's the numbers advantage whittled down away, non-existent, and that's plainly based off the fact that Cam's gonna find the dribble. Can't swing for the quadra-Lou though. 2 versus 1. He knows one of these players are low, and that is gonna be Mercedes Peak. Does fall. Halsey, all you gotta do is duck, dodge, dive your way out of trouble. The swing comes through. Lou gets the triple, but does not, I think, have enough time. He does, he's got it. Great stuff from Lou.
It was close as heck, but Lou delivers, and honestly, it's these initiators who are stepping up, man. That's 2 times in a row that Lou has basically handed them their round. So impressed by them, and we were saying before, Mercedes Peak, best fade in this tournament. He's having some tough competition, but Calm as well basically brought that round back into the fold for Gladius after it didn't start exactly how they wanted to. And almost converted it. I really did think it was going to happen, but when it comes down to the clutch, it feels like Lou is just on top. And you were saying before, I think, to me, you said, just with one piece of utility, this character, this fade, could do so much in those late game scenarios, and that's just what he did, right?
Yeah, it's true, you know, it would be the Horn, it would be the Prowler, for example, anything like that. It can win you the round so easily, but, you know, Cam, for example, he does the hard work in finding a triple. He's in a 3 vs 1. His teammate's low. He doesn't need to reface in the 1v1. Like, stop being greedy. Just win yourself the round. It costs them dearly. As now, second round for Rix, with the first kill of the 9th goes in favor of Gladius. How's going to fall? Peg snaps onto 1, but not before Samo and Cam can charge their way on and take down Sigino and Peg himself. So, double the numbers advantage here for Gladius. 4 vs 2 have got a Rolling Thunder to work with though, so this could potentially be something that we see come into fruition, but surely this is a little bit too late here for the side of Rix.
I don't think they should be investing it here. It's 2 vs 4, right? But at the same time, maybe want to do it for that momentum. They get caught, however, and Mercedes Peak delivers those short 2 frags, and Rick Static, again, not able to find anything when the frags come in early. They took down Lou in that initial exchange, and from there, Gladius thought, all right, he's dead. It's all good. Normally, that would not be the player you expect to see for Rick Static to kind of be so prioritizing. Sogino, not at the top. Only 4 frags in 9 rounds. That's unheard of. This man's normally 1 KPR base. I swear to God, this guy frags out. I want to see more from him, because when you're playing defense and on the chamber, and you've not got frags, something's going wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough as well, because how many times have we said that the success from the defensive side of Rix comes off Sigino, and as soon as he drops off, I think we saw it in particular on Ascent the other day when he was dying first. It just opens up so much, you know, avenues to success and doors on this map, and on Bind as well. You know, it's a quick rotation, it's a quick, fast-paced, rotated base map. And you can't really afford to not have any trademarks or slow orbs, for example, to delay that push. But unfortunately, they're not going to have 3 of their players to delay the push in this round, as 3 of them do whittle off. It's all up to Peg and to Lou. Mercedes has got a bit of a hint that they're there. There's the first, there's the second, and it's going to be the 8th on the board for Gladius. 2 rounds for Rix only here on a map like Bind, which they don't mind playing.
No, they do like this map, so I'm surprised to see them not performing like this. I mean, honestly, it's down to the fact that Gladius have really just sharpened themselves up. Some great fragging individually as well, but also, for example, the previous round, we saw so much utility get chucked on into connector there, and we saw just a pincer that was absolutely gorgeous, right? The spray came in from Cam. Look, he hit his shots, the same with the backup from Halsey. But as that happened, Mike came in the backside. They were both concussed and low and got that shot in, denied the fact that they were both going to likely fall to the likes of Static. And from there, managed to net them the round pretty much. I know the kind of cleanup came from Mercedes Peak, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. You know? I'm honestly looking forward to seeing how they use this ultimates from Rick Static. They've got access to the orbital bombardment. I think they just need to be able to send it and use it to try and get something here. The Rolling Thunder is fantastic as well, but there's the rocket, but he's too slow. He still gets the kill. They invest a lot there.
Yeah, but not before Rex, though, can find 2, so a big investment from both sides. The Rolling Thunder's out of the equation. The overdrive off for this round as well, because Rex has fallen. So Gladius, although they do a 2-for-1 trade, they was on the receiving end of it, though. So numbers advantage for the side of Rick Static. They have got the orbital strike as well, like you mentioned, in the hands of Peg. Should heaven, hell need to be rained down from above onto the side of Gladius, he's got that available to do just that. But for the side of Gladius, even in these sort of 3v4s, 3v5s, they've still looked very confident and comfortable. They're going to sneak behind enemy lines as well, because the line of smokes, the barriers of smokes are going to allow them to get onto the site. Oh, that is such great util combination from the side of Rix. The stun comes through from the breach. It allows the orbital strike to land from the Brimstone. And 14 seconds left. They've not got a lot of time to play with. I think the molly actually missed also. Cam's got to go huge. Finds 1, tries to pull the smoke out. Can't find any more, but Mercedes Peak He's got the information on the Nightfall as to where one player is, and that's going to be Peg. Can Mercedes Peak hold his nerve time and time again? He's been the man for the side of Gladius, yet to step up really here in this grand final. Is this going to be the time to do just that? The Haunt available as well. That's going to reveal the chamber. Peg's still going to be sticking the spike. It doesn't matter because Mercedes Peak's run out of time. Although he does find the kill. Can't find Sagino though. It is going to be Rich GG to put their third round on the board after a very, very sneaky defuse.
Yeah. Really well played there. Again, they had the numbers advantage. They had to force him to come on out. He didn't really want to have to run around. Mercedes Peak knew that he had to try and isolate the fights, but at the same time, he couldn't expose himself because he didn't know where those two players were, and it was very quick to kind of rotate around because obviously you've got that corner that is so easy to kind of peek on both at the same time, and it made it a little bit more difficult for himself. Maybe if it was planted somewhere else, things could have been a little different, but that's just not the way it ended on out. And now we're going to see all those ultimates coming out, both the Tour de Forces, but it is the Overdrive that gets that first frag, traded on back. And Gladius, very happy to get Rex off the board. He's been a thorn in their side.
Yeah, that's a big kill for the Overdrive as well. A huge ult shut down. The next one they got to try and shut down is Sagino with a Tour de Force, but luckily for them, they're going to be heading over towards the B site, and it's only going to be Peg and Peter to deal with. There goes Peg. Peter, though, going to instantly trade it back through Mercedes. Going to go huge. Aftershock comes out just to delay any aggression there towards Hooker from Mike. He knows, though, that Samo is lining way over towards B long. Samo has to go out quicker here. The flash comes through. There we go. Cam is going to find the first. Sagino, Tour de Force, is going to trade things straight back out. A bullet wasted there onto the Seeker. Oh my god, they're going to play they played the rotation. They didn't know Spike was down. They had no idea Spike was down, Rook. They've completely rotated off the site, and B's going to be free.
Oh man, they're actually going to teleport over, so it is a lucky call. But maybe they're confused, maybe they don't know quite where the teleport is. They're looking behind, they're still expecting that flank, but does not come just yet. They're going to push on in from different sides, and that could be their downfall. That's an easy operator shot there. You can see the ultimate even been invested just to make sure, hey, Cam, we know where you are. We have your IP. We're going to track you all the way back here. Even with that flash, it's going to be oh so difficult to actually make anything land as the shots ring around him. But because of no audio cue, Luke can just sit there, ran on over, and catches them out. 8-4 though on an attacking half. Gladius have got to be happy with that, right?
I mean, to be fair though, on the flip side, Ricks though from 6-0 down and from 8-2 down. 8-4 doesn't really look too bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you think of it back in that logic. Like, either way, though, Ricks, they're going to try and back themselves on this attacking half. Rex is going to try and break the line of sights as well behind those smokes from Peg. I think I need to really see a little bit of combination and util setup here come into play. You know, put the concussion down, follow it in with the slide or the stun of the Neo behind the smokes, for example. Put an aftershock in to try and force a player out of position and use the haunt to reveal the locations from Lou. I need to see some real good team play from the side of Rick, because I think that's what they're lacking at the moment in this grand final. But for the side of Gladius, you look across the board, yes, look, Mike, probably in my opinion, the MVP of the final so far in terms of stepping up. He's fragging at 17, but everyone behind him, though, they're still in double digits. They're still keeping up and keeping pace. Can't say the same, though, about Ricks.
Yeah, Rex, looking for that shot. Matos managed to get the opening, looking for more, and oh man, that ghost is so strong in his hands.
Solid stuff, double for him to start off the affairs here. Haunt is going to reveal a few locations. Rex has got a bit of a hunch as to where Mercedes Peak may be. And as the spike goes down in the hands of Rix, numbers advantage in their favor too. It's going to be Cam.
That was a good bait there, but unfortunately the shots are just being landed by Rex. And sometimes that's the difference maker, right? I mean, we talked about the util and about the coordination. Rex, in terms of their positioning, a lot better there. Obviously not using the util in quite the same sequence as before. But it's good to see that they're the ones actually dictating the way the round goes and dictating the style of play, which is good, because that's what Rex wants to do. I'm really looking forward to seeing Rex do more of that, especially with the backup from the likes of Peter, from the likes of Lou, especially when Lou, right, man? Like, Lou has been popping off again and again and again and been pumping out the utility in exactly the right scenarios. What more can you really ask for from the man other than just, you know, setting up with Rex, who's sprinting it down and showing us just how powerful the run and gun is as Neon single-handedly takes down 3. I mean, sure, there was a little bit of backup in terms of utility, but not really that much, right? It was pretty much entirety Rex there. They get the site control, and now, well, this eco for Gladius is looking pretty much like nothing. Those those Spectres, they're so scary, man. They find so much pressure, especially when you're playing a character like, for example, the Neon, who I think uses it fantastically. And you've got those concussors as well to try and deny those pistols from just getting those 1/2 taps in. The spray can just be so good. And it's quite forgiving as well. I mean, even a scrub like me can use it, right? I think the important thing to also note is that overdrive is going to be up very, very quickly for Rick Static. They're going to have access to a lot of different pieces of utility as well. And their econ is going to be in wonders, if you ask me, because Gladius, they really, really wanted to kind of pick up a couple of frags here or there, but they got no such thing. Rick Static are all just sitting in that spawn, saving up those Spectres, and Gladius, they're jumping into the fire.
Yeah, and it's a good round as well from Rix. It's coordinated, it's calm, cool, collected. Just a few that comes to mind, and they keep those Spectres, like you said, going through into the next round. All 5 on the board, and I think in particular, Bind, with how close quarter some of these engagements is, in particular over towards that B site.
Absolutely.
Spectres are very, very viable. I've seen people from CT to B along with a Spectre on this map in particular. So it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing a bit of a stack over towards B here from the side of Rix. You know, Rex in particular, one off that overdrive too. So if he can get that online and fly out to the site, that's even a better weaponry to work with.
He's been fragging, picking up those numbers, and now looking to put them to good use. Has not picked up the overdrive, obviously, just yet. We'll be able to use that orb to get that in hand. Might just pop it, but look at the aggression from Gladius here. They really want to get something going.
Yeah, want to get something going indeed. Can they do it, though? That's the question. And, the rotation from the side of Rix has been beautiful. That aggression from Rex and putting it online is going to completely force the players from the side of Gladius to wake their way over towards B. But guess what? A bit of a scuffed stun, to say the least, from Rex. How many times have we seen him stun his own team? He has to go big, though, towards the back of this site. Can he find any? Mike is going to open the affairs. Samo there, though, to shut down shop. Rex, he's good for one. So Sagino and Peter, numbers advantage in the favour of Rick Static. And they still got this overdrive available for Rex, and a couple Vandals have now gone into their hands.
I mean, this eco round could be absolutely massive for them. Sorry, this bonus round could be absolutely massive for them. They pick up this, and they're laughing. Their ecos look so darn good. Sure, they invested the overdrive, but that's perfectly fine. Cam, I think unlikely to be able to have the same kind of heroics as we saw before, and what looked like a really dominant half, right, for Gladius is now pretty much being squandered in these early couple of rounds. Cam pushes on in, tries to get something, but to no avail.
To no avail, but one thing that has begun to prevail is the attacking side of Rick's GG Static. 5 rounds back-to-back to see themselves put themselves an anti-eco win away to tie things up at 8 rounds apiece. Fantastic comeback from Rix. Once again, though, it's something that we just, sort of become familiar with when watching this team. Yes, we talk about the mistakes that they make, but anytime they make mistakes, they just brush it off and somehow manage to work their way back into the game. Yeah,
it's so important to have a good mental when it comes to things like that. You need to be able to look at the situation and say, okay, we messed up, but we can do better. And they absolutely can, right? In particular, Rex stepping up on this Neon is exactly what we want to see. We want to see them actually creating that space, and that was something they were lacking in the previous map. So Gino, only 10 and 10 right now, but that man will be pumping up numbers as they start to get into the swing of things, especially when Rick Static are winning, regardless of whether it's because of Sagino is pumping out numbers. He's always on top of things. He's a key part of their strategy, and sometimes you just go, okay, Sagino, hold down this angle and kill everybody who comes near you.
Yep.
And he does just that. That's so important to be able to have, and especially as a teammate, right? You've got the confidence in him, and that gives you more confidence to kind of do your job and understand and be in the right place at the right time for your team.
Yeah, exactly. Completely agree with you, and I think, we talk about Valorant, okay, we talk about the pop-off factor for some things, but I think, especially on some of these newer team comps with the likes of Fade and Chamber, the team play kind of goes under the radar a little bit every now and then, and I think we've seen a great display of it so far this weekend. But here comes Rex. Aggression once again behind the horn of the Fade for the side of Rick's Cam, though. Very aggressive. Peg's going to find the first onto Mike. Cam does find one. Peter snaps onto the head, so does Samo. Spike down now for the side of Rick's GG. I think Mercedes Peak has spotted 2. If he can find one, that's huge. He nearly finds the second as well, but that's a lot of damage done here for the side of Rick's GG. They are going to rotate their way out, but they'll get themselves some Vandals, though, in the sides of Gladius for the retake.
Yeah, that's so big for them, honestly, where this round looked pretty dire. We were saying, oh, wow, Ricks have got this in the bag. This is an anti-eco. They should be able to get to 8-8. Now I'm not so sure. Not a lot of utility, don't get me wrong, on the side of Gladius right now. They don't have those flashes, no nothing to really force people out. They have, at best, a molly. I don't even know if they have access to that right now. And at worst, some Sky Smokes, which I believe they've already dropped at least one of those so far. It's been interesting to see just how much. No, absolutely nothing for Gladius to try and push on through that, and Rex is one hell of an angle holder, that's something I have to say. Damage goes down though, and they know the push is coming, the time is ticking, they've got to be quick.
They've got to be fast, they've got to be furious. I don't think they're going to have time. I think they're just going to gamble and let Halsey hold it. He didn't even get it half. No, that's so vi. Oh, Halsey!
I don't think he has the time. He doesn't have the time.
Does not have time. If he holds it half, he has time. That's heartbreaking from the side of Gladius, but they do take all the weapons out of Rix's hands though. However, they also lose all their weapons themselves. So, we'll take a little look at the way the economy is starting to build up here. And, well, there you go. It's going to be last chance buys across the board for everyone, really, apart from Peter and Serge.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right, is yes, Gladius lost their weapons, but they came into that round with nothing, so they've got the buy up here, they've got the operator for Samo. If they could just find that footing again, things should be fine and dandy, but this half has been a struggle for them. When they're not the ones dictating the pace, that's where things get really painful, because they really, really, really want to be in the driving seat, especially versus a team like Rick Static, who, if they're the ones who can actually control things, which is difficult for them to do, they look so confident, so consistent, and so difficult to deal with.
One thing that could be difficult to deal with is the operator from Samo rolling thunder. Here comes the Haunt, full execution onto the B site from the side of Rix. Rex is there as well, so is Lou. Samo drops like flies, and the whole team of Gladiators just fall off the face of the B site as it's left up to Mike and Mercedes Peak to try and work this 4v2.
Man, you can't pop off like that with Sheriffs, almost win the eco round, and then just absolutely mess around with these Vandals. Unfortunately, finding very, very little here. They're really going to have to burst onto the scene if they're going to find this one. They do have a little bit of dynamic play with this raise, but can they find that opening frag?
They're going to find the first two picks here and put it at a 2v2. It's more than doable. There's the first. That's going to be Mike. That's going to be Mike again. Double trouble for him, but Peter and Peg instantly trade their way back out. Kills come through, and that's going to be the ninth on the board from Rix, who were 7-1 down, 6-0 down at one point. They have clawed their way back into this game. Oh, sorry, it was 8-2 down. Not 7. You know, the side of Rix, they are probably really fired up right now.
Oh, they've been here. They've done that. They are clutch Meisters extraordinaire. And I said before, that's not what I necessarily want from a team. I want them to be consistent, but Rick Stag, they're consistent in the fact that they get to these scenarios, consistent in the fact that they get out of them as well. They are escape artists right now. And let's hope that they manage to find the key to get out of this sinking box and take down Gladius to get back into this series.
5 ults though available for the side of Gladius. One of them going to be pulled out. It's going to be the tour de force in the hands of Samo once again. In towards Hooker, trying to hold down the fort if he can. Cam going to scout out a little bit of information. Does get the contact. There is one towards the bottom of B long. Samo though has to go huge here with his tour de force. How many times have we seen operators tour de forces go huge here in this angle between Cubby and B long? First point of contact might be Rex. They're dancing with the devil. They're dancing with each other at the moment. Who is going to draw the first blood here in this important round? If Samo can go huge with a tour de force and shut this down on the anti-eco round, Rix, they're going to be in a dire situation after clawing their way all the way back in here to this map number 2 on Bind. If you have just joined us, of course, this is map number 2 in a best of 3 series here at the grand final of the Epic Land official Beacon event. So far, Rick's got to come from behind as they are 1-0 down, but guess what? They stormed their way onto that B site, led by Peter, spike in hand. But unfortunately, Sergino is going to fall. So does Peter. Mike once again goes huge. Guess what? He's going to try and stop the show, but he misses. Rex finds the kill. And in a 4 versus 3, the side of Rix, they're scampering all over the place. They've got the spike down. They've got to try and put it down and get that bomb ticking away. But Cam's going to shut it off as Lou falls, although Peg does pick up Mercedes. The spike eventually planted though in the 2 versus 3. They have got the Neon ult. No longer though the orbital strike available in the hands of Peg. He's down to 20 HP as well. Tour de force still out in the hands of the chamber. That's going to be Samo. 73 HP for Rex. Can he isolate the first? He can't. It's a triple now for Cam. Here's Peg. 18 HP. Smoke goes down. Halsey finds the shot. 9-9. Gladius win the eco.
Man, these guys have got magic in their fingers right now. Gladius picking that one up is so darn good and so darn necessary for them. If Rick Static can be able to shut that down, pick up another round, continue on forward towards that double digits, things could look so bad so quickly. But Gladius, they deliver. They don't even use too much in the way of ult. Actually, as a lie, they used 3. I'm completely wrong there. But the tour de force was the kind of key point, and then everybody else just played around it off of the rifles they had. They still have access to that orbital bombardment too, so they're going to be able to get a lot out of that one. Really looking towards Rex to again lead the charge with this overdrive. I think that's going to be something really important for me at the very least.
Yeah, and we already highlighted Rex, right? He likes an aggressive style of play on that Neon, so he'll probably get right up close and personal. And here we go, straight into the faces of those players in towards Bathroom. But unfortunately, he is going to get tagged up and decayed all the way down to 30-odd HP. He gets hit by a nade as well, I think, in the hands of Mike. Somehow Rex has got to open up the doors here to try and get on site, but there's Mercedes. Peak finds the first. It's Lou who instantly trades it back out. Doubles his luck as well as Housing's going to fall. So the fade diff at the moment in favour of Rick Static. Mike is going to get marked and tagged up eventually by the Nightfall on the fade, but 2 players though worming their way through towards short. It's going to be Samo as well as Cam. How many times have we seen Samo and Cam go huge for the side of Gladius? And this is a bit of an important buy round though, because, you know, the economy for both sides aren't too great. Sagino stands strong. He finds Samo. Although Cam can find one, he can't find any more. Peter finds the kill, finds the 10th on the board for Rix. And is this a bit of a turn in the tide here? And is this what the side of Rix needed, as that economy for the side of Gladius has once again been broken?
Damn, if that trigger discipline was a little bit better as they exited from the bathrooms, that would have been absolutely fantastic. It could have been 2, maybe even 3 players in that situation, and that would have completely changed it. But as a result, the frag came back quickly, the ultimates were invested, and then we really saw things instantly tip in the favor of Rick's GG Static. I think the big difference here is the fact that they actually almost killed Neon early on. It didn't quite make it through there, and as a result, they were still able to create space, even with the player dying.
Cam, oh my god, Cam! You are a beast with the Sheriff! Triple for Cam. See you on TikTok, kids, because that's getting posted, as Peter is going to trade it back out though. But the double player advantage for the side of Gladius, absolutely huge. Oh boy, we mentioned the Sky vs Breach battle. It's definitely safe to say, even though abilities were used, just in terms of overall stats and figures in this game, Cam has been a real difference maker. Had a bit of a tough map number 1, wasn't really fragging too heavy, was getting the dirty work done on the KO. But this Sky allows him to excel so much because he can play off the pop flashes should he want to. Peter's going to walk into the line of sights of the judge, the jury, the executioner for number 10 on the board for the side of Gladius. Peg's going to save the Vandal, although he has the spike and could get the work done. I think he keeps it into the next. Cam goes huge, and Gladius should tie things up.
Back and forth, ping and pong is seemingly what these 2 teams are doing right now. Regardless of the rounds, regardless of the weapons, I mean, Cam just steps up and delivers for Gladius here. They're going to be able to rectify that economic situation. I think Rix won't have absolutely everything, but they have something right now. You see Rix looking for a chance to push on in. Pegasus wants to maybe try and find that plant, maybe find some damage, because they know that that econ will be important, but position completely known here. As a result of that, it's going to make things very, very different. Has to teleport away. Now knows where he is, knows where that rendezvous is, but the peak comes out wide. They do it in many a terrible fashion, but the time is ticking. They've not got the availability. He's going to try and plant that spike, but he's going to run out of it, and Halsey will take him down anyway. But they lose a good few players in their midst.
If he finds the spray onto Halsey before he gets around the corner, I think he might be able to jiggle the spike in time to get it down. Unfortunately, the slight delay is going to cause costly, and the 10th goes on the board for Gladius, and that is a big round for the defensive side here, as they're already 1-0 up here in terms of map count here. If you've just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, myself, John, joined by Rook, of course, here in the grand final for the penultimate stop on the initial phase of the Beacon events for Valorant Northern European here at EPIC36. We've been really impressed with the display of teams so far this weekend, and this is a rematch of the upper finals. Currently, Gladius leave the series at 1-0, a very tight overtime 14-12 win for them on Ascent. They're trying to get onto that stumbling block here and cross the finish line on Bind. Can they do it though, Rook?
They do indeed. I think these paint shells are going to be really pivotal here, but they haven't been thrown yet. There comes the Rolling Thunder to try and buy some space. Could be a really good chance. They've already thrown them. They've still got access to the boom bot, but they just catch him through the smoke here, and that bombardment forces them back, but Sagino still finds the frag, and they burst through.
Yeah, somehow Lou gets a couple, but speaking of a couple, there's Halsey and Mercedes, the dynamic duo for the side of Gladius, puts the numbers advantage straight back in favour of the defensive side here. 3 players to 2. Sagino, though, has been the difference maker so many times for the side of Rix. Got the tour de force to work with. Has got to try and recover that spike, though, which is in direct line of sight for the side of Gladius. The molly's going on top of it every single time. They're just trying to delay and delay as long as possible here. This is great from the side of Gladius. Can Peg, though, help out his teammate Sagino? I think Peg has to get a little bit more aggressive up here and try and work his way in towards CT, because Sagino, as soon as he plants that spike and they hear the jiggle, they're going to beam him straight through the Radiant boxes. He does get out, though, free of charge, trying to get that spike down, and does now. 3 versus 2. Sagino's got to isolate someone and find the pick. Doesn't find the first. Mike, though, is going to burn one of the bullets there onto the tour de force. 3 left in the chamber for the man himself. And, well, as Mercedes is going to drop Peg, a very, very tall order for Sagino. The right click from Peg on the jump, on the triple. 11 on the board for Gladius, and they are just 2 rounds away from taking home the top spot.
I love the way as well that they played with their anxiety there. Gladius, they bought lots of time. And what would that time be used for normally, right? Cast your mind back. You know, you think about when people are delaying and they're waiting, they're setting up for a flank. They were expecting to set up for that, but it never came in the end. Instead, he just got a fantastic hold on that one.
Yeah, and I gotta say, these are monster stats coming out of Mike, Cam, and Mercedes as well. And I don't want to discredit Halsey or Samo too much, because I think their performance is going to go a little bit under the radar, because what Halsey's been doing great is setting up a line of smokes to allow the likes of Mike and Cam to get himself right onto the site and find some frags. So it's been a real gelled performance thus far for Gladius. Speaking of Cam, here he goes. Pop flash comes around the corner. Not going to find anyone just yet. There's the information needed. But guess what? Lying in wait is the chamber. It's Sagino to find the first. Out goes Samo. Cam got to go huge, finds one, can't find any more. The double for Sagino is going to allow the side of Rix to advance their way on into Hookah. And can they now try and walk their way out onto this B site and keep themselves here alive and kicking in this second map?
Sagino on the very left-hand side of the smoke, really expecting a push to come in from Mercedes Peak. Knows exactly what they're going to be doing. As soon as that dissipates, though, their team might start moving on in. You see that the spike is nearby. But 2 players remaining on that site for Gladius, more than on the other. So they're definitely putting their major power budget here.
Numbers still in favour of Rick Static, though. The fade ult for the retake for Gladius could be pivotal. There it is. All of them going to be marked, going to be revealed. Haunt has found the location. The wall bang through the wall. Sagino's going to fall. Halsey, though, has to try and hold down towards tunnel. Mike is going to come over now from the A site and help his side. Spike goes down. 3 versus 3. If Gladius win this, you'd like to think Rix would be on an eco, which could be into the last round. Peg once again going to be revealed, just waiting on that Prowler or Haunt to come back out, and he should find the shots. 33 HP, more than a dream alive here, you could say. He's going to spray his way across into the tunnel. Halsey got to try and break line of sights here on the player. There he goes. It's going to be Lou who finds him, but Peg with 30 HP somehow stays alive. Can Mercedes Peak, though, clutch up once again for the squad? The stun comes through. There's the ult. 11 apiece, and Rix, they're still alive and kicking here somehow in this game, Rook.
Rix see their outs. They play towards it. They invest that ultimate. They know they need to lock this one down as quickly as possible. They cannot afford to give up these opportunities which are handed to them. And Gladius, oh boy, did they hand it to them. Far too aggressive again coming out of Hooker. They're looking for the frags, and look, it's worked for Cam. Don't get me wrong, he got that 4K. He's gotten an ace off these aggressive plays with these abilities to kind of just tap away. But they bite off more than they could chew. There were like 3 or 4 players there, and eventually they just got outnumbered.
Outnumbered, out-hustled, out-bustled, outworked, and out-killed, to say the least. And it's 11 rounds apiece here. I'm not too sure what the economy stats are actually looking like. I think we have got a bit of a buy on board for both sides, so how vital is this round going to be?
Oh, it's going to be so vital, right? You're heading to match point. That's exactly where you've been trying to get this whole darn time. And with Sagino as well up here, there's not going to be much econ going to the next round. No ultimates, at least on the board right now, too.
For the side of Rix, They've got one push in them. One last roll of the dice to try and put himself on 12 rounds and break the economy of Gladius. Great start. Peg gonna find the first on to Samo. How costly is that going to be? That's going to not allow any trademarks to pop their way up. Horn has detected Lou though, but look at that pinch and the rotation starting to come through from the side of Gladius and Rix. They might walk straight into it. It's going to be player number 0 on your screen. I think that's Halsey, already advanced all the way up towards A short. Should they want to wrap back to that other side? But I think they're trying to dance with the devil and roll the bluff and call the bluff off the side of Gladius. On the rotation here is Rix static. They are still over towards B long though. With 30 seconds left, they've got to explode out onto this site, and that's going to help because Sagino finds 2. It's going to be Mike who falls, the real difference maker for Gladius, in particular in this grand final. Is no longer available to get themselves out of trouble. Sagino, he's cottoned on and got the inkling that Halsey's behind. That's a triple for him, all up to Mercedes Peak and Rix. They would advance onto map point.
Wow, oh wow. Rix finding that first kill just meant they could push on a site, take everything that Gladius held dear. You know, Samo, I love the hustle, buddy, but you can't just teleport forward like that. Gets punished for it, denied, and Rix static. As he said, pretty much on that match point. No ultimates, I believe, so to speak of, but they're going to have a hell of a lot of guns, whereas I think Gladius are going to be struggling. And I don't blame Mercedes Peak for running away from here, because you need that rifle for the next.
Cam from Gladius has just offered a £5 donation to Rix if they call their tactical timeout, so Gladius can try and run a strat. But I don't think you're gonna get that, unfortunately, Gladius. I mean, hey, listen, these guys are good mates and best mates IRL, so maybe they might be nice enough to do just that. But in a final that matters and matters so dearly, I can't see that tactical timeout coming through, unfortunately. But for Samo, only going to have the Headhunter to work with. Judge in the hands of Halsey. 3 weapons across the board, but light armor and a poor armor buy for Mike and Cam. Solid solidarity. Strength in numbers and weaponry, though, on the side of Rix. They're trying to build the ult-up economy as well. Obviously, this is the last round, so they've got to get a move on doing it, but Sagino won off that tour de force.
I think we're going to overtime, buddy. I just feel it in my bones. You know, we've had it before. We'll have it again. Of that, I have no doubt. Rex, he's going to have some of the enemy players. If he can get on top of them quick enough, he is one hell of a blade to deal with. That paint shells is going to be scary, but just about manages to dodge it.
Here comes the aggression then from the side of Rix. One more round is all they need, but how's he going to open up the affairs? Instantly snap back and clap back from Sagino though. And in the 4 versus 4, Peg though on the side of Rix, relatively low, but it doesn't matter because Mike, the main vocal point for the side of Gladius, the one that's really put up the numbers in the heavy fragging department for the side of the defenders, has just been removed. And that is again another vital kill. How many times from the likes of Lou and Sagino going huge for the side of Rix? Static flash comes through though, only to himself. The side of Rix have took their foot off the gas ever so slightly here though.
They have indeed. They haven't planted the spike yet. They're waiting to move into position, waiting for an opening, waiting for a chance here, but the shot comes through, tags him through. Mercedes Peak delivers just what they need.
Huge from Mercedes, a one-tap onto Peg. That was the player who was low. The crosshair placement was beautiful, a thing of elegance. Is this going to be the round that Gladius could break the hearts of Rick Static and Rick Static fans from EPIC36? The big, huge flank, though, coming in from Samo. They can't even afford to rotate this. There's 20 seconds left. The plant has to be stuck. There's no way Samo can go huge here. Lou probably going to walk straight back in towards his line of sight. Samo, you got to get a move on, my man. Get a move on. Help your team. Close the angles in. Suffocate them onto the site. Don't let them get away. And I think he might have just done that. Sagino, he's too smart. He knows Samo is going to find the tag. Can't find the kill. Triple up for Sagino. Can Rix get over the line? Sagino, how many times has he gone huge over the weekend here? Triple up. Looking for the pentakill. Potentially. There's the quadra. Mercedes is sticking, but the quadra and the ace from Sagino. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Just when you thought they were done and dusted, get yourself strapped back in because we got a lot more Valorant to play.
Man, oh man, the wall bang through that box was so pivotal for both teams, just about to finish it. And oh lord, I thought it was going to go to overtime off the back of that defuse, but it just wasn't there, man. These games are nail-biting.
What nails?
What
nails,
so
right? That's the question. But no, it was so close from Mercedes. Look, do you know what? I respect it, and if I'm in the same situation, I'd probably stick the defuse as well. He just needed that second, that fourth teammate. I don't know who it was. I want to say it might have been a Housey or even Samo to try and find one of those kills and try and just get, you know, a little bit of time ticked away so you could even maybe get it half and then get off and find a kill and get back on it, but it wasn't to be. We are going to take probably a very much needed break, to say the least. We're going to strap the refreshments back in. No doubt the players want to try and refresh themselves a little bit too. Don't go anywhere, because if map number 1 and map number 2 were anything to go by, we are in for an absolutely brutal map number 3 here in the grand final of the Valorant Beacon Circuit Tournament with EPIC36. Make sure you're here. Me and Rook will be back in a few. Hello, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to EPIC36. We are in a very, very bit of a predicament, aren't we here, Rook? Because we are on the penultimate stop of the official Beacon event and circuit for Valorant in Northern Europe. We are in the final map. Yes, it's gone all the way to map number 3 here. We're going to head into Haven soon between the side of Rix and Gladius, and what a series it's been so far.
Well, we barely avoided a second overtime, and only barely, honestly. All those last rounds were going to... Sorry, pardon me, the very bitter end. I was so impressed with how we managed to see Rix actually pull that back. I thought, given the start, that they were just going to fall over, but that shows again the tenacity of this team. I should never count them out. I keep on casters cursing Gladius, I think is the real problem here.
Yeah, I think it was actually funny. We speak of caster cursing. We in that short break, we literally sprinted outside to go and get food because we haven't eaten all morning. And we were speaking to the Goose House, and they were like, hey, John, next event, can you maybe not hate us as much and caster curse us so much? Because anytime we were playing, we just played awful, and you were just rinsing us the whole time. So I apologize on behalf of everyone at Epic for me rinsing the Goose House so much. But no, like, the Goose House, they've got a good upcoming team, but we'll talk about a little bit about the tournament in general afterwards. But, I mean, for the side of Rix and Gladius here, what is it going to be? What is needed from one of these two sides to get the upper advantage and win this map number 3? Because there's been nothing to split the two sides so far.
Well, I think the interesting thing about the fact that we're going to Haven is that there was the second map in their previous series. And that second map was 13-9. It was decidedly in the favor of Rix. So for Rix, they just need to keep it up. They need to put Sagino in that position where he can frag again. He started off the previous map not doing so hot. I'm going to be completely real with you. He didn't have many frags at all, but he did end up top fragging. That shows how much this man can deliver. And with the backup from players like Lewinsa and Rex went absolutely insane on that neon wave entry.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what they're going to be doing on Haven here. I don't know what Rex is going to be playing. That's my big question. I can't remember what they played before. I think... Was it Neon still? Or
I want to say it might have been a Neon. I don't know why, but I feel like that. I remember that for some reason. Either that or that Neon's just indented in my brain from that.
She's hard to forget.
That bind I've just seen. But I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, right? I mean, we're gonna be heading into Agent Select relatively soon. We are just waiting for one more player to get into the game and lock and load themselves into the server. But let us know your thoughts at home in the chat as well. Who do you think is going to win this? Who do you think is going to, unfortunately, grab that second spot? But also, we've got to say a quick shout out as well. Make sure you guys in the chat check out these amazing partners and sponsors from the event that have been powering the event all weekend long. Of course, Intel, Teams GG, Overclockers UK, MSI, and Logitech as well. You had a chance to check out any of our sponsors here this weekend?
Yeah, I actually went over to the Overclockers UK. I saw they had some really nice keyboards for sale. I'm currently not in the market for one, but I do, maybe a second one could be nice.
Yeah. I know they got like the new Ducky range, right? Like, I'm a huge 60% keyboard fan, so I actually had a chance to check out MSI, and they gave me like a really cute little dragon plushie. That it is probably going to be spent most of its time on my desk, cheering me on, so I can remember epic and fond memories. Yeah. Right? But either way, let's get back and talk about the game. We've saw map number 1, overtime. Just talk me through that ascent, what happened, for anyone that's just missed it and tuned in.
Well, it really felt like Rix were going to be able to stick it back to them. After a good start from Gladius, things started to go the way of Rix. But after a certain point, it just looked like Gladius went, okay, we've toggled on. Mercedes Peak really started to dish out those frags. Cam stepped up as well, and Mike, he was popping the entire game. So that was peak Gladius that we got to see, and they managed to weather the storm that is Rix getting a whole string of rounds against them and still come back and pick it up. We went to the overtime. We did, but they closed out in short order. So it was Rix really struggling at the very end to actually take it to overtime, considering how well Gladius were playing. And they showed us some pretty nutty plays, but the problem was they weren't sustainable.
Yeah, and then obviously we headed over towards bind as well, and on that bind, I think Gladius will probably be kicking themselves if they didn't get it done in 2-0 fashion, and might be saying to themselves, is that the chance missed? Is that the costly mistake that's going to cost us this series by letting them take home a bind? Because I think they were 12-9 up, I think, 12-10 up.
Not 12, like 11.
11-9 up or something like that. So they had rounds to play with, but in true Rix fashion, I mean, I was talking to a few of the players from the tournament outside, and they was like, "What do you think Rix are going to win?" And I said, "I don't know. Rix have that annoying factor about themselves that they just do not go away and leave you alone. Like, even when you've pushed them back 5-6, I mean, we saw them down 8 rounds to 0 at one point yesterday, and they still walked back into the series and won it in overtime. So
he was 7-0 down, literally just the last game, right?
Yeah, literally, yeah. Like you just can never count them out.
You really can't. And that's the scary thing about them, right? You can literally be 11-9 or 11-5, as we saw another team, and they still pull it back. They really do have a lot of fight in them, and that's such an important thing to have, especially in the finals, especially after a long weekend of games. They keep on ticking. They keep on fragging, like in the case of Sergino. This guy has been absolutely monstrous. He's been picking up frags left, right, and center. Even when he has some struggles, he always manages to bounce back and then still find himself at the top of those leaderboards.
Yeah, and I mean, we're speaking right in the break because we got told we had to try and pick an MVP for the grand final in the tournament. At the moment, before we head into map number 3, because obviously map number 3 can be a huge difference factor in who we pick for MVP. Me personally, I think if Rick's win, I think Sergino's got a huge props in to play in probably the MVP for their squad. On the side of Gladius, it could be a few different people though. Mercedes peak, I say Cam's in the equation. Mike, in particular, for the finals MVP has been huge for them. Yourself, are you thinking of anyone? I mean, Bensky, even probably for the side of CSGG. He's a lunatic. He's nutty.
Yeah,
he's played very, very well for his squad. I'm trying to think of like who else has played well for like Temperate, and I would say you could even maybe throw King Hass in there from Pink Fluffy Unicorns. I thought on a new role like a Chamber, he's played very, very well.
Yeah, he was absolutely popping on that. But I still feel like it's hard to choose an MVP when, look, Sergino has been, at times, dragging their team to the victory with so many frags he's been putting on. And the same can be said for players like Mike. For me, if Gladius win, I would put Mike, purely because this finals and performance has been great from him. But also, throughout the rest of the time, while he has had some ups and downs, he's had a lot of ups and a lot of very impressive ups as well. While Mercedes Peak has kind of been consistent good, he's been a great most of the time at the very least. Whereas Cam has been a role player most of the time, and sure, he's popped off now. I still feel like Mike is the one for me.
Well, we are still waiting for a few players to show up and get into the lobby. I'm not too sure if you're going to stick with our faces or we might take a little bit of a short break here until the players come back, maybe. I'm not too sure. But, I mean, for the side of Gladius, I think they're the team that are really buying their time before going into this next map. Is there a lot of discussions going on maybe between the squads right now?
That or they're having food. I think is the other potential answer, like us. Maybe they're looking for that one. But at the same time, I think they need to be having discussions about how they play this Haven, about how they approach a lot of these really key areas, in particular mid and that A site, because that A site was a real thorn in their side, constantly perched up upon it. Sergino was finding those frags left, right, and center. And we did see, to an extent, the same from Samo. But he wasn't quite able to put up the numbers that Sergino was, and as a result, they were really, really unable to deal with the way that Rix just ran away with the game in places. Yeah,
well, we are having a bit of a few issues here, I think, for a few players connected in, so I think maybe we'll take a bit of a short break if possible, and then when we get back in, we'll be lock and loaded into that map number 3 of Haven. Don't go anywhere, because me and Rook will be back for map number 3 soon. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. There we are. Into Haven we go. We do apologise. Shocker, shocker. Samo had tech issues at LAN. Who would have thought it? Talent with the headhunter. If only he had a PC to match it, that would have been amazing scenes. But these players aren't going to muck around. They've waited long enough. We're going to get straight into the mixer here. And on the side, no, so it is the Raze, sorry, on Haven that Rex pulls out. It's not the Neon. I must have been thinking about Bind again, of course. But one thing to note is the difference in the Astra and the Omen on Peg.
Yeah, I was going to say, right, I'm surprised Pegasus isn't playing the Astra. Maybe he's not so comfortable on it, which is perfectly fair. I think it's a very difficult character to play at times, especially in a comp environment. So if you can't, then don't. Don't hamstring yourself by trying to play it and failing. That would be a real problem for them. So Halsey picking it up, though, really solid player on this one. Definitely understands what makes his team tick. And that could be a big advantage because, obviously, she can provide a lot of utility in lots of very important places and setups as well when you kind of go for those standardized plays, the ones that you have practiced.
So then, 16 teams travelled all the way over to Kettering.
Tragic.
Yeah, no, Kettering some props. Like I said, 16 teams travelled here with one goal in mind, and that was to be crowned EPIC36 champions and pick up those beacon points. Only 2 are left. It all comes down to this. One more round, and it's going to be started off here with Rix picking up the first frag.
Really nice usage of the paint shells there to catch him. And I was impressed, honestly, by Mike's usage of the satchel charges to actually get away all around that. But Sajina right here could be that point of contact. Sadie Speaker's watching for it. They know it's there, but he pushes up way too far. But he misses the shots. It's all down to Peg to find that one.
Yep, it is going to be Halsey to trade things straight back out. Mike's there too. Halsey can't find any more because it's a triple from Peg. And just like that, we're left with Samo left alive in a 2 versus 1.
Yep. Big stuff, honestly, being able to pick that one up because, you know, actually finishing him off rather than leaving him alive would have been pretty dire. But Samo being the last player alive, he's getting aggressive, and that could have been a real problem for him. If he gets double peaked, things get end pretty quickly. Even if you hit that shot and teleport away, then you'll likely have gotten tagged up in the crossfire.
Samo can't find the first. Rex gonna pick up the kill and the first on the board for the side of Rix here. And is that the first pistol win for Rix in this series?
No. They won pistol 2 on Ascent.
Oh. Yeah, 2 out of 5 isn't bad, I guess.
5 isn't bad. Not exactly where you want to be, but hey, Rix have still been making it work. That's the thing. They're so good at fighting from behind. Yeah, I'd just like them to be in front for once, you know?
Yep, I mean, there's still a lot of Valorant left to play here, though.
Yeah, true.
In Haven. I mean, we saw this go 13-9.
Yes.
That was yesterday in the best of 3, right?
Yep.
And, I mean, even then it could have gone to overtime. It was a few minor mistakes from Gladius that cost them dearly. I'm going to try and change and fix things here, though. Peter, going to pop out the fragment. Just trying to delay as long as possible here, Rix.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad shout. If you could buy that time, that's perfectly fine by you. Maybe you'll regen some of those smokes. But Samo, yet again, up close and personal, wants to pop through in that mid, but knows there's likely a player up here. He knows these tricks, but he just gets away. He actually managed to take down the trademark and still escapes with his life somehow. How on earth he made it out of that? Sergino was just not ready.
So, not a sentence you usually say too often, really, to be totally honest with you. I mean, 2 players, though, for the side of Rix. Up aggressive.
Well, they're right here.
They're going to swing. It's going to be Rex to find the first. Cam falls. Can any more of the players from Gladius try to shut down this Rix buy round? It's going to be Lou. Hold strong. Mike's there to trade, but not before Rex can find the refrag. Paint shell should do a little bit of splash damage and does, down to 75 HP. Spike has fallen. In the 4 versus 2, this should be, realistically, a straightforward round for Rex to convert.
Yeah, pretty simple for them. So Juno waiting for a chance to strike as they move on out into the open, and the heads are taken clean off. The same can be said for the next. Really well done, again, by Rick Static. They don't lose too much as well in this round, so the Econ sitting pretty for now.
Not looking bad, not looking bad, and we've seen a couple bonus round wins as well for this
we have.
series. I think we've seen probably one in every single map.
I think Rix might have more bonus round wins
yeah.
than they do pistol wins. Or maybe the same number. Because I think they've won 2 at least. Maybe the 3rd.
Well, they can't have a bonus round win unless they won the pistol.
Oh, no. Beating the bonus round.
Oh, sorry, beating the bonus round.
Not even beating bonus round. Winning the round after the pistol.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
When you lost the pistol.
Okay.
That's
cool.
what I was thinking.
So
you know what? Miscommunication.
Rook, you're confusing me here, mate.
I'm confusing myself.
But anyway, let's head into what is going to be the bonus round here as Samo. Going to be the first point of contact here for the side of Gladius. Over towards Ceylon. And just like that, we are going to see a bit of a slower paced move from the side of Gladius. Rex going to find the first bit of contact on towards Halsey, and just like that, snaps onto the head of Cam as well. He's so low. Showstopper available. Don't jump into your own nade, mate. You're only 6 HP. Sagino is going to find Samo. That's huge. We mentioned, could the bonus round be converted? And it might just that. There's the numbers advantage in favour of Rex Static, though. Unfortunately for them, Rex is low, down to 6 HP. So a breath of fresh air will take him off of the round. Got to stand strong here, though, Rix. For Gladius, an important round to convert, but they've already lost 3 rifles. That's big for the economy stature.
There's a big difference between pincering and being caught away from your teammates, but this timing is so unfortunate, honestly, for Rex. Could have been such a key opportunity, and now the A side is wide open. Gladius were able to get that spike on down, and now things shift entirely, whereas before, Rix were able to kind of pigeonhole them into that B site, force them into a really unoptimal site to try and hold in the post plant. Now they're much more comfortable. Gino is not able to take the head off. That's so big for Mercedes.
Yeah, but are they going to expect Peter to be here as well? Mercedes, Peak, and Peter, they're touching gun barrels, and Peter wins the engagement, switches out to the Vandal, followed by the pot flash. He's not got a lot of time to work with. Got to try and swing his way around, and with only 8 bullets left alive in the magazine, can he find the kill? He does. Bonus round win for Rix.
Oh, that's so good for Rix. Peter yet again delivering. You know, I thought with Sachino going down, I was like, oh, it's going to be another Mercedes Peak moment, right? This guy can frag out, finds the multi-kills like an 8 body's business. But Rix, they managed to make it happen, and it's all off of that initial set of plays. Rex on this raise, really setting the tempo of the round by getting those initial couple of frags, managing to survive and then bring a rifle back. Man.
One thing I said is coming off the back of this into the Haven, a Gladius going to have missed their chance to win the series off the back of that bind defeat, and already early doors here in the Haven, they look a little bit defeated and depleted thus far. Rook, it's been a bit lackluster from them on their front. Mike going to try and fly down the way towards A long, but does get spotted. Just like that, it should be Lou to find a few kills. Halsey, though, is going to find the refrag, so a Vandal does go into their hands.
Does indeed. Sagino on the backside only trades out for 1, and that's fine by Gladius. They can go pick up that rifle now. That's something in the bank.
Peg. Going to be playing a bit of a sneaky beaver role. Does know that those players were towards the back of A-Long. Gladius, they've got to try and find a pick and isolate a kill here. They can't.
You can see it, Peg's waiting right there, looking for the play. Halsey does actually manage to upgrade. They haven't quite pulled the pincer. They haven't quite put the pressure on in this vice-like grip that Rix currently have. They need to start making their move. And as such, they're going to have to push on forward somewhere when such low health could easily go down here. In fact, it is going to go down very easily here. Rex looking for a chance now. You hear that satchel. Throws down the nade. He's going to buy himself a little bit of space. Forces Halsey out. And still Pegs is waiting all the way back there. They know Rix are entirely aware. They don't have to force a thing. They can just wait. They can just buy their time. The flash goes out. They play it up. And that's another round in the bank for Rix. Look, they lose a couple of rifles. Gladius have to be at least happy with that. But Rix are now 4-0.
I'm really liking the patience as well from Rix. You know, Peg just can get a complete control of the middle of the map on the Omen, blocking down the lanes in it, and it's just forcing, like you said, that vice-like grip right onto the side of Gladius, which we're actually so usually familiar with Gladius doing to other teams. So a bit of taste of their own medicine, you could say, here in the final, when it don't look like they're enjoying it just yet. I mean, taking a look at the ult build-up, Rix close to putting, to be fair, the ult economy is quite evenly built across both sides. They have got the Cosmic Divide, though, for the attack inside. Do you invest this here, though, Rook? Do you try and put it across the site, try and get your way down, get the spike? I think we've only seen the spike planted once so far.
I actually think using the Celestial Divide in that manner, the Cosmic Side Divide, sorry, in that manner is a really good shout to kind of cut up the site and then play from there. The problem is the positioning on these sites from Rick Statics. They've just been so far forward, right? At every single opportunity, so it's not going to work quite how you want it to. The Prowler gives away info, and now Gladius be able to stick onto that site and have a little bit of info of just who's coming. The Haunt goes through to buy some information, but just how much will it get them? Nothing, because Rex just frags out too, and now that information is not so handy when you don't have the force to put anything behind it.
And again, though, look at the squeeze that Ricks are putting on the map. Immediately, straight away, it is going to be Peter on the KO to wrap his way back over towards A long. He is going to spot Samo, but Samo finds the kill. Peg, though, still lying in wait so patiently over towards the C site. The side of Gladius, I'm not too sure if they're going to expect their second player to be there so quickly, but speaking of seconds, second kill for the side of Gladius now, and we're tied back up at 3 players apiece here in round number 5.
You are divided.
Here comes the Cosmic Divide.
Yeah, I think that's much better now that there's only 1 player left on the site. It's much easier to break that, to split that up, rather than having to deal with it, but it is that 1 player, that is Lou. They managed to take 1, but Lou takes 2. Just what they needed to be able to deny this. They took the spike carrier down, and they finished off the round 2, 5-0. They even invested the ultimate, but not even that was enough, man.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like Ricks now are really starting to set into a bit of a rhythm here in map number 1. It's not usual that we'll talk about Ricks choking 6 or 7-0 leads. It's always if Ricks can come back from a 6 and 7-0 deficit, right? And they're a team that plays off high impact, high pace, and I mean you've got Rex, for example, as well, sitting at 10-2 at the moment. A couple ults now on board for the side of Static. Is going to be the fadeaway for the night for fade. Hey, why didn't they call it the fadeaway?
Cool
That was Riot, hire me. That's all I can say. I'm not just for VCT, but anyways, on the chamber as well, you've got the Tour de Force. Both chambers have that available. Showstopper for Mike. Another Nightfall as well in the hands of Mercedes Peak. And I mean, Gladius, they took a timeout here, Rook. What do you think that Cam's going to be saying to the squad right now?
I think the real need is for them to play around each other, because every time I'm seeing these kills come through, it's Ricks properly managing them into bite-sized pieces, into those individual players, or getting big spray downs. But the big spray downs, you know what you can avoid by spacing and putting that in correctly. What I want to see from Gladius, and what I'd be asking Gladius for, is just to coordinate, use that those flashes a little bit better, more together, and actually push off of them, rather than throwing them out and going, did it hit? Don't know, not going to do anything with it, so we're leaving it. That's the problem right now, I feel, for Gladius. When they were running the Sky, at the very least, they had ways to confirm if they got the hit or not. This time, however, they just don't feel like they have a single thing. That Prowler buys them just enough space to live, and Ricks are still able to get away with whatever they were doing anyway.
It's going to be the anti-eco, though, for the side of Ricks Gaming. 2 Tour de Forces have been invested, though. Can one of the sides do what they need to do? Oh, Sagino and Samo, they've just exploded their way onto the site. Samo's got 2. The Aftershock as well. I'm not too sure what happened there in terms of why Sagino didn't TP his way out and rendezvous himself out of trouble. But that's now left Lou and Rex in a bit of an unfamiliar and peculiar circumstance, to say that he's here, at least map 3. In a 2 versus 5, Gladius might have just put their first round on the board here, Rook.
I mean, hey, it was an explosive start, and it works out so well for them. They invest one of those ults, and then from there, it's pretty easy pickings. 2 players now on the board, and it is 2 of the scariest players to have to deal with from this Rick's side. They're looking for a chance to burst onto the site here. There's their first opportunity. Halsey down, but now so is Rex, and with that slow there, with the concussion coming on in, what more can Lou do? Likely going to fall in just a second. Takes down 1. Gets a second. Looking for that extra. Maybe trying to hit that 4th. Does in fact get it, but there's only so much you can do. A lot of eco damage despite the win. But Gladius, they get a win. That's the important part.
Yeah, I think the economy, though, for Ricks was built up strong enough, so they're going to have more than enough money to buy into this. When I take a little look at Gladius is off the back of that, so that's very costly, actually. Look, they're down to everyone pretty much on low economy economy save up, sorry, with 4.9k only really on Cam, the one to note. Sam can probably buy into the next anyway, regardless, but you're going to see Ricks easily comfortably buy into this. Sagino on the operator as well, surprisingly. I mean, oh, I say surprisingly, sorry, I thought he still had his Tour de Force, but I forgot he used it in the last round, so not so surprisingly on the operator, you could say. Gladius, though, needs to be more the same, you'd like to think, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The problem is how much can you force there, especially when you don't have the operator yourself anymore. They didn't have the cash to buy it up because of how badly things went. Here's the rocket. Could land. Rex gets one, but gets picked out of the air.
Yep, there's Mike again, doubling up. How many times have we seen him really come into fruition and shine here in this grand final? Showstopper available, should he want it? It's going to be Peter, first point of contact, out upon the retake. Can Mike find any more? Of course he can. That's the triple from the Rays. Rays go brr, apparently, as that's going to be the quadra. Make it the penta. No, never mind. Mercedes Peak has other ideas. Second on the board within quick succession for Gladius, goes ahead and leads them into a bit of a better standpoint.
Honestly, the fact that he managed to slang that rocket over the top, hit the nades as well, this is the Mike we love to see. He was a little bit quieter early on in this match, but, you know, it's good to see him starting to come out of his shell, and this is a map where Rays can succeed. We saw that from Rex already. There's a reason he's top of the leaderboard, in spite of having Sergino there. It's so good to see. I'm looking forward as well to seeing more from Lou, who has been really popping off too. Now, they don't have the econ for rifles here, but they're not far off of one in the next round. 5 rounds on the trot already. They've got a solid base to work from. The question is, can Gladius do what, well, Rix did to them?
I mean, you know, Gladius, I mean, they have had their fair shares of comebacks thus far in this event. I don't think as many you could say as Rix. I feel like Rix has made a comeback in every single map they played thus far in this event. It is going to be off the back of Mike, though. That high explosive
100%.
Rays, we gave him a lot of criticism throughout the starting points of the tournament, but I think we've got to give him a lot of credit here thus far in the finals. Really stepped up when it matters, and if he can continue to do so, he could be that key vocal point for Gladius to find some momentum. But again, I just want to highlight Rix, though. They seem to be getting a good old hold on the map 9 times out of 10, and it's really up to Gladius to try and break that.
Is indeed. Mike makes it deep into sight, but actually their team gets picked apart while that happens. Cam gives them that little bit of space, a little bit of something to work with, but the flash is a little bit too late. The taps are coming through, but Hexa can't make it happen. Samo's covering the backside, and he'll do just that. Another couple of shots coming through from Lou to try and deal with it, but don't forget, this was pistols, and a lot more damage than Gladius were really willing to take to kick things off here. The Prowler gives a bit of space. Can Lou find the frag? Can he deny that operator away? Yes, he can!
That's going to be a huge pick for Lou as well, no doubt. He'll pick that up and put it into Sergino's hands after this one. But in a 2 versus 2, make it a 2 versus 1 for Gladius. Lou has got it all to do. There's no way he tries to take the risk and run and give the operator straight back into the hands for Gladius. He's got to keep that through to the next round. Sneaky beaky defuse? Question mark?
If he can, but
no way.
Look like Cam.
I think he was going to try and find an exit, but it doesn't matter. He's going to get it away. He's out of there. Third on the board, though, for Gladius, and this is starting to be a bit more of a closer affair here after the first 5 rounds.
It is indeed. I mean, we've seen this pattern quite a few times. We've had Rix obviously coming back from that many a chance, but Halsey going down there, and again, that economy, I mean, it's not too bad for Gladius, but every little surely helps. They've got a massive bank on Cam, though, who just hasn't seemingly died. He's been just happy, sitting pretty, providing flashes to their teammates. Now, going forward, with Mike still available on that rifle, I think that's, again, so darn important. Sure, he doesn't have the showstopper, but he has everything else available.
Well then, for both these two sides, how many times have we said that they've been locked at the horns thus far throughout the competition? It was the same in the upper bracket final, replicating that performance back here into the grand finals. Of course, that upper bracket final only went to the second map, and that second map was this one we're on now, Haven. A 39 win in favour of Rix. So Rix know how to beat Gladius on this map, but do Gladius now know how Rix win on it?
Well, they've had some time to get some of that extra information about it. See the star getting placed down. Peter now no longer able to have a visual on Garage, so we'll just back away as Pexa gets into backside here. Big opportunity, as now they've got so much control over the space on this map. But look at all the utility coming on in. That haunt is big.
It's going to be the aftershock too. She'd clean up the shot, but guess what? Somehow, Peg stays alive. 4 players from Gladius die. They invest so much ult and util into that, and it's all left up to Halsey for the Astra, and oh, that's going to be heartbreaking for the Gladius. It was going so well. The momentum was building. The round count was building, but just like that, again, Rix, they flip the switch. They get that nastiness about themselves, and out comes Rex's triple, and all of a sudden get shut down. Lou and Rex, they've got more kills than nearly their 3 other teammates combined. Can I check my... Can we get a check on Surge, because he's 4-7 right now?
His PC is not normal and needs checking. It's
yeah.
like...
Is his PC even on?
I don't think so.
It doesn't look like it.
I mean, he's been in the game. He's like held down these angles. It's just no one's been going to him, and Lou and Rex have just been going wild.
Yeah, and that's because I think the way that they play this map Haven, it is really set up around Lou and Rex in particular, because they go out and get so much control, or they just run out and die straight into the gravity well. But either way, Mike's going to find the first. So yeah, I don't want to sort of flame the other players from Rex for not sort of putting up the numbers that they need to have, just because I think the way that they play upon retakes and especially attack here is really based around those two. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Long time to go, but Mike's going to find a triple of his own, although he does fall to Peter. That spike should go down relatively freely, but as I say that, the rotation is going to come through. Peter falls, and it is all up to Peg. Oh, they actually going to start? They're going to stay here. Oh, Peg, be sneaky. Be careful, my brother. Just wait. Be patient. Can't find the first. It's Mercedes who finds the kill. Fourth goes on the board now for Gladius.
Yeah, I think he was trying to get into an angle where he could use that trigger discipline, play a little bit passive, and wait for them to make the play. But it didn't happen, unfortunately. They got the timing just right. Gladius were able to deny that so far. But Gladius looking to even up the scores here at the very end here, and look at that econ now for Rix. They don't have much in the way of money, so they're going to have a Bulldog, a Shorty, a couple of other pieces here and there, but no ultimates to speak of in terms of replacing your weapon, because that Tour de Force is not online.
One thing that is online though is the Headhunter. And does Surge know how to use it? Boy, oh boy, does he. Mike finds the first on to Peter. Two more players though, Peg in particular, inside the smoke. Haunt's not going to spot him. Neither is the Boombot, and the headshot from the Shorty is going to come through. Now Lou cleans up the job from behind as well. And in a 3 versus 3 here, again, how many times have Gladius run around, but Rix have just stormed their way straight back into things?
Tell you what, you're talking about the Bulls, it's Bulls in the China shop, because it seems like the fragile advantage that this team has is constantly denied by Rick Static, because they're just willing to push that a little bit more, get that little bit of an edge case scenario where, you know what, we could pull back in. And sometimes it is a bit of a gamble. We've seen both these teams make mistakes as a result of these attempts to kind of push the limits. But when they push it right, when they get just the right button combination, it's all good, and they'll be in an advantage state despite the fact that they really, really shouldn't be. Now with the utility going on, Lou's got to hold up on the site. Yeah, it's going to be Lou, last line of defense. Can he find one? He can't. Mercedes peak. The fade diff comes through as Gladius. They're going to go ahead and stick that spike well and truly down and into the ground. Peg, he's got a sliver of HP. The same applies for Sagino, but guess what? He finds the first. Can he find Mercedes peak? Of course he can. 2 versus 1 now. From what was a 3 versus 2 situation, all you got to do if you're Housey is to just try and play time. Find the first, because the trades will come through. I love the repositioning though from Peg. He sits up on top. Sagino though finds the triple after Housey advances through the smoke. And just like that, we see the 7th go on the board for Rix. Rix are feeling themselves. They're picking up round after round, and I think this attacking side is going to be even more scary. You were talking about who they focus on this map. They focus on Rex and Lou, and I think Rex in particular is going to be so good on the offense. The amount of space he's going to be able to get with the backup from Lou as well, that's going to be one terrifying prospect. And look, I think Serginho is a great piece in this because he can lock down those longer angles, while Rex just goes to town and everywhere else, especially in a similar manner, actually, to what we've been seeing from Mike, even though it hasn't necessarily been as successful. But that's because, unfortunately, Mercedes Peak hasn't been able to, I think, put up the performance that Lou has here, because I think Lou has been outstanding in this series.
Well, I think Serginho must have took what we said personally about him being 4 and 7, because he finds a triple there and is now well and truly 7 and 8. So, I mean, either way, every single player for both sides going to show up. Here comes the showstopper. It's going to be Mike who falls. I think both showstoppers are actually invested, but only one of them got the kill. So Rix are going to have to try and hold on to this site with the player disadvantage. Lou going to be revealed towards the back of the site, but it doesn't matter because Housey's going to fall, even though Mike's there to find the refrag, and Lou instantaneously drops straight back out. Peter has dropped off the face of the earth in this round, at least. Anyway, on the KO, no revive for you today. Serginho last alive in the 3 versus 1, 3 versus none, 2-round lead for Rix going into the half.
Yeah, really, really nice there for Gladius to at least get something at the very end. But, as you said, 7 on the attacking half going in, like, that's actually pretty good. I think Rix are going to feel super at home now they're on the attacking side, and they'll be able to dictate the pace of the round much, much more. While they can be good when it comes to slow play, we've seen how that can be used effectively to kind of bait your opponents out, force them into uncertain situations, like we saw Gladius do earlier in this game. Look, it may be advantage for Rix going in here, but let's not deny that Gladius have shown us a masterclass of how to kick things off. The problem is they cannot sustain it.
Yeah,
that's been the problem for both teams.
Yeah, and that's been a problem for both teams. You've hit the nail on the head. You completely took the words right out of my mouth, to be totally honest with you. And it's who can find that thread of consistency and who can find that thread of a few extra rounds and grueling and winning those 1v1s when they really probably shouldn't do. That's who's going to win this series. And at the moment, I don't really know who that's going to be. Okay, it's a 2-round deficit. You would say maybe your money's on Rix, but they lose the pistol and the side of Gladius are straight back in it.
They absolutely are. And Gladius have been so good at these pistols as well. But with that said, Halsey's already off the board. And Rick Stack in position. Sagino with this Headhunter will do just that. I'm so scared for Gladius right now. If they push out into here, it's going to be a terrifying prospect.
Sagino, Peg, trying to hold down the fort, or hold down the garage, should I say, at least anyway. Reinforce the barricades, but there's going to be a boombot that forces Sagino away. Flash comes through. Peg finds 2 with 1 bullet. There goes Cam and Samo, all up to Mercedes, and with 15 HP, are we going to see the first bit of momentum and round built in favor of Rix here, finally, as they win the pistol in the second half.
Oh, it's so good to see. We were talking about their pistols and their lack of consistency in them, but they have stepped up their playing field. This is why they looked so comfortable on this map before, here on Haven in the previous series, and you know what, I don't expect to see that change at all. Things might get a little dicey, but that's just this matchup between these two teams. Rick Static are comfortable here, and they can take it home.
They can, they're more than capable of, but will they take it home? That's the question we need to ask ourselves, Rook. How many times do I say, and we probably actually sound like broken records over the course of the weekend, that we talk about these mistakes that either of these two sides have made, and at the moment, I would say, I'm going to dare I say it, I'm going to live to say it, I think Rix might have stamped those minor mistakes out so far from what I've seen here on Haven. Still a few more rounds left, at least in this one, though. And that's without including any potential overtimes. Boombot comes through, followed by the showstopper. Just about with the paint shells. Mercedes is going to fall. Cam instantly trades it back out, but not before Sagino is there to have a bite at the cherry himself. And well, Rex, speaking of raises, he's going to take down Mike. And Gladius now may fall apart in the 4 versus 2. Is the anti-eco round, of course, though they only have got the pistols. A few sheriffs, I think, were brought into the equation there as well, so nothing really too over dramatic and anything to get your knickers in a twist about if you're a Gladius fan. But for the side of Rix, I mean, if you can hold on to 4 Spectres here and go into the bonus round, I think if Rix win the bonus round, they probably win the map quite comfortably.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think they just get such an economic advantage, it's insurmountable. But at the same time, I thought that Gladius were going to have a really successful first half, and they really didn't manage to convert it. It's unfortunate to see, but at the same time, what really impressed me here was the utility usage in this round. Sure, it was versus pistols, but the nades, the concussion, everything else in the setup for Rick Static looked so confident and so comfortable that it's just adding more and more credibility to them being the first seed and, well, picking up first place in just a couple of minutes.
A couple minutes away from securing himself a spot in what would be the top 3 of the overall Beacon standings as well. How huge is that going to be for the confidence of Rick before they go into that last event, the Guild Academy Series, obviously, which actually kicks off tomorrow. If you didn't know, it kicks off. The qualifiers start on Monday and it runs all the way through until the grand finals that start off across the weekend, Friday through to Sunday. And you know, any team that wins this is going to be flying high on cloud 9, to say the least, going into that event.
Yeah, well, as long as they get some good sleep, that's an important part of it, because right now, Peter's getting a lot of sleep in this round, as, oh my lord, Cam is delivering, but finally picked up, as Rex, again, leads the charge for this squad.
It's going to be Mercedes Peak, answer straight back, 4 versus 2. So far, so good for the side of Gladius, but Rex, he is going to remove Mercedes from the equation, as that Spectre at close range, it's so deadly, man. They've spotted Halsey. They might even try and push their way through and get the kill. But guess what? There's the spike, ladies and gentlebirds. How are you doing that, Rix? I'm not too sure if they thought they had control of the spike or not. But either way, They've just left the spike way open in B side, but it doesn't matter because Samo's going to fall. That Spectre once again for Sagino going so huge. Vital round here, Rook, between these three players. Two of them, though, favourably for the side of Ricks are flying their colours high here in the grand finals, but it doesn't matter. Mike finds the kill. Rex trades triple for the side of Ricks, and just like that, the bonus is found. Economy shot. Ricks put 10 on the board.
Oh my lord, sometimes it's just aim diff, man. These guys delivered. Sagino, does not matter what weapon this guy has. There's a reason why, well, prior to this game, he was top of the leaderboard every single time. Timeout coming in here. I think Gladius, they need it. They need some breath of fresh air, some hope, something to lead them onwards. You know, I think they need to go back to basics. But that's so much easier said than done.
A couple extra seconds on their tactical timeout there, I think.
It was a bit weird.
I think one person tried to call for a tech pause instead of attack pause, but another team called for attack pause while the other team called for a tech pause. So a few extra seconds to whittle yourselves down through, but timeout from Gladius. They're now going into an eco round, so obviously the strat is not going to be run in this exact round, but should Ricks win the round, which they probably should do, they'll see themselves going to 11. They're just 2 rounds away then from booking their spot at that top spot of Epic LAN and crowning them your champions. What is going through Gladius's mind right now? What are they saying?
Well, they're trying to keep themselves calm, first of all. That's the most important thing, because we've seen just how important that is. Keep a level head. You can make the comeback. Gladius, well, they haven't done this kind of comeback before, have done similar things. They just need to push it over the line. If Rick Scat can do it, why can't they? They took their first map off of them just earlier. Why not a second? But here on Haven, that can be easier said than done. As we said before, they have lost on it before. They need to change their mindset. They need to be able to find those first frags. And even though Mike has been delivering, it's not been enough because Rex has been in the right place at the right time. And so has Lou.
Yeah, and do you know what? My heart goes out to Mike.
It really does.
We were giving him a lot of criticism over the first few days. He stepped up here in the grand finals, and everyone else that was popping off is not really rose to the occasion. So work that equation out for yourselves and amongst yourselves. But here comes Samo. Can he find the first? Rex is going to spot him. Samo has to try and go huge, but guess what? Peter's going to fly around the corner. The TP just in the nick of time. Out, away. There goes the rendezvous. We'll see you later on. But a lot of damage done. The breach tagged up heavily. So is the chamber as well on the side of Gladius. Only got the sheriffs to work with 2. One of the players from Gladius have to go huge. But here comes the aggression from the side of Ricks. It's going to be Lou to find the first. Mercedes peeks there to pick up 1. There's Samo. Of course he's there with the headhunter and doing just that. It's Rex though to trade it instantly back out. 3 versus 3.
Yeah, it's actually really good for Gladius to get this kind of damage, to get these kind of frags. They could still pick up this round. Don't get me wrong, because these sheriffs, they are scary. Mike's waiting just around the corner. This is so pivotal. They back up towards it. They see him. He whiffs the shots. That is tragic to see for Gladius. Their opportunity, their chance has been squandered here. Util's going to start to go on out. They don't have access to any of those smokes, so they can't cover it, but Cam can cover it with those bullets. The Rolling Thunder as well to give the space. Mercedes peek needs to stick on this. Rex is going to peek on out, try and get the shots, but he whiffs it, and Mercedes peek just domes him right on back. So few chances. Vexazeus gets one, gets the other, and Rick stacked. They move to 11.
Yeah, a huge round for the side of Ricks. Okay, it was the anti-eco. This is where the tactical timeout is going to start to come into play. But you know what? Peg's been a bit of a clutch master for his side. I mean, he's not put and set the world on fire in terms of his KD and kill department. But when there's someone that needs a 1v3 or 1v2, I think we saw him got like 2 1v3s in like within 4 rounds on that Ascent game in map number 1. Went a little bit quiet on map number 2, but that's okay on Bind as a controller player, to be totally honest with you. But here on Haven, when he needs to show up and pop off for his squad, he finds the triple as well. And oh boy, Static, they are just 2 rounds away from securing that top spot.
But they've got 3 ultimates available to them. Well, they've got all the cash in the world. Pexa checking out for this one. Does get sent back from whence he came because of that nade. But a lot of control, a lot of information. But there are 3 players, nearly 4 on this site. Mike gets a good frag, but only 1.
Here comes Lou. Here comes Rex. Show-stopping indeed. But Mercedes there to have other ideas. Peg's going to drop off, unfortunately. But 3 versus 3. They have got, though, the Nightfall available in the hands of that Fade. That's going to be Mercedes peak to probably try and use that to initiate the retake should they want to. They'll get complete location and control over the site and know exactly where these players will be. There we go. Here comes that Nightfall. The aggression now. But guess what? It's going to be met with a gravity well as the fragment. But it doesn't matter because Mercedes Peak finds one. Halsey gets two as well. And Gladius, just when you think they're out, they hang on with a thread, a sliver of hope. But they're still in this game on Haven here, Rook.
Backs against the wall, but they just don't give up. Gladius, so darn happy they picked that one up. A breath of relief, but they're not out of the woods yet. Let's not get it twisted. And that econ for them is still not in the best of places. They should be able to drop rifles over to everyone. No, they're going to miss one on Mike here, unfortunately. And there's no tour de force as well for Samo to kind of rectify that situation, especially since they've already got that operator. Then it'll be double up, and I don't think it'll be quite so comfortable. They've changed things around a bit. They apparently... I didn't see where they got the money for that from, but on the other side, they don't have the money. That's the most important thing here, and that gives a little bit of a chance for Gladius to start racking something up, building up that eco, and playing for that overtime or for the win.
Yep, Surge going to invest a tour de force, though. Nate straight to the feet of Pegasus. He's going to be dropped down to 80 HP. Samo, though, I think he actually got legged by that tour de force, and he's down to 22 himself. For the side of Gladius, though, like you mentioned, they're more than capable with this round count, with the way the economy is starting to shape up here throughout this map number 3 on Haven. If you've just joined us, where on earth have you been all weekend? Because we've had some banger matches here over at EPIC36. The series sat at 1 apiece, a 14-12 overtime win for Rix on Ascent. And then from there, Gladius went on to bind to win. Actually, no, it was the other way around, but it doesn't matter because we're going to be heading straight into that A site. It's going to be Rix who lead the charge. Peter trying to get control.
Prowler on his trail denies a lot of that vision, but they get control of the site regardless. Rix, they may be weapons down, but they still convert into this control of site. And, well, they didn't even take much damage for it. They still got access to a Nightfall of their own. So many things they could be working with. And in these closer ranges, these Spectres are fine.
Cosmic Divide, exactly what you want to see. From Halsey, the dink from Peter on the Spectre, but Mike's going to clean up shop. Rex, though, he can find one, but not enough because Mike doubles his luck and takes down Pegasus. It's all up to Surge. He falls 7th on the board for Gladius, and that could start to be a few wheels turning. And for the side of Gladius, You've got a decent number of ults online as well. Actually, no, you've only got one. I thought the Astra still had her ult, but obviously it was put down into the last round. The tech force does come through at 10 seconds, but I want to take a little look at the economy, if we can. I want to see the two sides and sort of how they're matching up in a second, and sort of see what buy both Rix and Gladius have to offer. Rix, they've got a buy, but look at the amount of credits they're going to have for the next round. They lose this, it's 8 on the board for Gladius. Then Rix are going to be forced to eco. There goes 9. And you could be looking at into the next buy round, these two sides being separated by 1 or 2 rounds. So how big could this next round be?
It's going to be so impactful for the momentum, for everything. And it's not even that bad if Gladius lose it, right? Because they've played 2 overtime before, that's fine. They don't want to have to, but if they do, their econ's not looking too bad for them, right? They have got the access to the tour de force as well for Samo, so they've got a decent amount in the back pocket. They're not hard done by regardless of the outcome of this, but then obviously their backs are like literally inches from the edge of them falling off the back of this truck and, well, not closing out this game. I think that Gladius can start to bring it back, but the problem is if we see one hot round from Rex or from Sagino or even from Lou, things could just end in a second.
Yep, I think we got a bit of a bathroom break here for one of the players, if I'm correct. Hopefully the admin is accompanying him to the bathroom so we can make sure.
It's like an exam.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's like, little did they know I worked smarter and not harder. We had the answers written on the back of our water bottles. I mean, please, GCSE and Ofsted don't take away my results.
I don't think they'll probably do that this retroactively. And also, I don't think you need them. You've proven you're a smart enough boy with all your fantastic analysis we've seen so far. Have you got any more for us?
I wouldn't say smart analysis. I kind of turn up and wing it on the spot, and somehow it works, I guess. But in terms of analysis, I think you've got to take a little look at the performance from Rex and Lou again in this map. But I don't want to focus on them too much. I actually want to focus on the other 3 as to how they've actually set Rex up and set Lou up perfectly. So usually when we talk about high impact fraggers and stuff like that, we usually think of the likes of Sagino, right? However, he's really took his foot off the gas here in Haven, because I think what they didn't want him to do was go out and frag too heavy and the other players couldn't get into a bit of a rhythm into the game. And you know, that's when the mistakes from Rix can start to happen. Peter, I think upon the entry to the exit to the site, sorry, His 0-point knives from KO have been spot on. He's revealed a few key locations time and time again. The flashes have been great. How many times have we seen Peg? I mean, the 3 vs 1 is credibility enough on its own. So the side of Rix, I think they can just hold their nerve here and get through this little few unsteady waves here. They can sail that ship well and truly smoothly out of Kettering with the Epic Clan title. But Gladius, they're not going to make it easy for them.
They really aren't. They're looking to give them a real bumpy time in this one, but maybe they'll be able to sail through the storm regardless. But Gladius, they've had chances. They've shown promise. They can bring this to overtime, and you know what? We said it was possible in the second game. It didn't happen, but it did in the first. We could easily have a repeat of that one. There's only 4 rounds in it. Only 4 rounds difference. That's only about 2 rifle rounds, really, realistically, that they're going to have to deal with. Especially with the amount of econ they have left. Gladius have quite a few chances.
Well, you spoke that there's going to be 2 rifle rounds they've got to deal with. This is going to be one of them, Rook.
It's indeed. Such a pivotal one, too, as we said before. Obviously, you lose to Static, and then, yeah, they get to run away with things. But you win, and that econ goes back down. You get so much more out of it. You're going to generate those ults, and then you have so much to work with as they start to make that push. The Nightfall comes in early. Rix really want to get this plant on down.
And they should do, just like that, uncontested. It's a close right plant, actually, as well, from Peter. That's a bit unorthodox and unusual. Peg, there we go. We mentioned how many times can he be the one to step up for the side of Rix on the Omen and go huge. He finds 2, but Cam shuts him down instantaneously. They have got the tour de force, should they want to work with it, but they don't need it. They just need the Vandal in Cam's hand. But guess who's lying in wait backside? It's Sagino with the double. Rex finds 1 map, match, series, Epic Land 36 point to Rix Static.
Oh my lord, and again with a really unorthodox plan. I was so surprised to see that, but sometimes you got these Omen players, they know just the right spot to be on. Attacking from on high, Peg saves that round, taking those first 2 frags, and in spite of what was a really nice set of frags coming out from Cam, it wasn't enough to quite turn the tables, because as you said, Sergino waiting in the wings. And again, even when this man is not top fragging, he's still one hell of a threat. 14 and 13, and those frags have all been super duper impactful.
Indeed, very impactful, but trying to be impactful. Speak of the devil, here's Samo, one of the most impactful players in the tournament thus far, on the chamber, tour de force in hand. He's going to have to deal with Sagino. Rix want to try and get that mid-map control, and this is something we've seen quite often from them when they're attacking half. They tend to try and focus that pressure towards the middle of the map and force and bait some of the players from Gladius away from those sites, and then they spring the trap almost instantaneously.
Indeed. The trap still needs to be set. Especially by Rix Static here, if they're going to try and find anything. The Prowler gives away a bit of information, but not too much, especially in early days of the round. Minute still left on the clock, and no one's really committed too far for anything. The one thing I want to note is, and obviously on Samo here, because if someone walks into the sign of sight, it is going to be a nasty, nasty surprise.
I think Samo's called it perfectly, the fact he's been so patient. Oh, Samo, just hold your nerves, stay scoped in, and you go huge and make the play for your squad to keep him in the game. Patience, buy your time. Is he going to find the first? A couple might even line up. He misses the shot. That's what the side of Rix needed. And here we go. The fast-paced aggression onto the site should come through. And just like that, there goes down the 0 point, followed by the Horn. Peter gonna tiptoe his way onto the site. Has got the spike. Got to get it down. Lou finds the first. Mike's going to be removed here from what could be the final round of Epic Land 36, 4 versus 5. They have got the tour de force still in the hands of Samo. However, the ult you'd want in this situation is the Cosmic Divide, is the Nightfall, even the Rolling Thunder. How beautiful and delightful would that be for the Breach to have right now? But for the side of Gladius, they've got to try and do something here.
They really do. They're not quite so sure about the players in Garage, so they could try and leverage that, but right now, doesn't even seem like it's going to be enough. They make sure there's no one on that angle, they start to push on in.
Here comes the side of Gladius, but stands strong does Rix. Rex finds 2 to save the day. It's all up to Samo and Mercedes. Samo can't find 1, or can he? Yes, he can. It's going to be Sagino backside, and there we go. Rix stands strong. We had 16 teams come. We were left with 2, and just as the name suggests, Rix stands very static at the top of first seed, and they are going to secure themselves not only the 200 beacon points, not only the £900 top prize for the competition, they're also going to secure themselves the Epic Land 36 official Beacon Circuit Valorant Championship spot.
It was bumpy, And they did have some ups and downs, but they still made it. So tenacious to the very bitter end there, taking them down and even improving on their previous score versus Gladius on that map. Again, shows just how good Ricks are. They start to understand really what was making Gladius tick. And then, from there, it was plain sailing.
Yeah, and you got to say, it's heartbreak for Gladius. Even the 13-7 scoreline, it doesn't show you the story of that map. I think out of the 3 maps, though, the scoreline would suggest it was the most comfortable for Ricks because they didn't really look in too much trouble. 9 out of 10 times there were a few questions that went unanswered at times that Gladius threw their way. However, when they needed to pull it out, Ricks stand strong, they stand firm, and they are taking home those amazing beacon points, the cash prize, as well as that Epic LAN 36 trophy. And I mean, where does a team like Gladius go from here, coming off the back of a disappointing defeat?
They go next, is the simple answer. I think, honestly, they take part in Guild tomorrow.
they go home, sleep, and wake up and play the same tournament tomorrow.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's such a good way to do it. They've really shown a lot of growth over the course of this tournament as well, and that's so big to see. They came in here 4th seed, they got that second, beat out some really strong teams, Tempera, Jokers, Pink Fluffy Unicorns, Cognizant, and many others, in fact. So a really solid performance from them. And I think they can't be disappointed with what they got, even if they are a little bit let down.
Yeah, and I mean, for Ricks, they just kick on from here, right?
Yep.
They just use this to buy into the confidence going into the likes of Guild and the rest of the season finals once Beacon put that on track. Talk to me, though, Rook. We're going to go one apiece here, and I think we might have the same answer for the side. Tournament MVP across the board. Is there anyone in particular that has took your fancy?
I think it has to be Sachino, right? He has been one hell of a fragger. I know the last game didn't exactly give him all the best of what you've seen from him, but that man has been head and shoulders above every other player in terms of frags. And normally I like to think about, other things, about what they're bringing, but there's nothing better than cold, hard stats.
I mean, I made a point, I think it was yesterday maybe, and it was with you as well when we were casting, that I think Ricks were going to have a really tough time keeping hold of Sagino
Sure.
if he can continue to promote. A little bit inconsistent there, and you've got to say, if there was an MVP, let's say if there was a finals and grand finals MVP, who would your pick be? My pick would actually probably be someone that's not on the winning team, and that would be Mike, because I think he rose to the occasion very, very well. But maybe you look at the likes of Rex for a series MVP for the side of Ricks, maybe.
For the series MVP, no, I agree with you, Mike. I'm a big Mike fan, as I've said many a time. I loved what he was able to bring onto the table, and I mean, look, Rex did a great job in this map, kind of doing basically what Mike was doing the entire time. So really loved the fact that we saw that little bit of flexibility from Rex, that they can play many different agents, but Mike on that raise, he's just so damn good.
He is, but unfortunately that has concluded the action here at Epic LAN 36. Don't forget, if you want to be a part of the next one, make sure you follow us across all social medias, check out the websites, get yourself signed up and entered into the next one. Next one is, I'm not too sure what the dates for the actual next Epic is. I think it's October, right? Something like that. Yeah. I don't know. We'll post the date somewhere. They'll be all over the social medias. But any last closing thoughts before I wrap it up?
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for joining me on the cast. And thank you again to our observer and our producer. Yeah,
huge shout out to Jay and George. They've worked super hard all weekend long. It wouldn't be possible without all the amazing production team, the people that are making videos, taking photos, working hard on admin as well throughout the whole event. We really do appreciate every single one of you. But until next time, there is one last dance on the Beacon circuit. That is going to be the Guild Academy series that starts up in just a few days' time. We hope to see some of you lot there. If not, we'll see you at the next Epic. Good night, stay safe. And as always, stay one tapping. It's Valorant season, baby.